You know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
The 90s and early 2000s saw NASCAR become synonymous with North American motorsports. It made rock stars out of names like Stewart, Gordon, and Earnhardt. Tonight, our drivers will try to emulate them and find fame in victory lane as we get ready to watch the Rock and Roll 400. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Rouse Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes, our director Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Richmond continues to be one of the great short track tracks on the NASCAR schedule. Let's take a closer look at it to see what sets it apart.
Welcome to Richmond Raceway. Richmond is known as the action track, and it's real easy to see how. The unique D-shaped oval allows drivers to reach a lot of speed into turn one. Richmond has long been known as a short track that races like a super speedway. With its multiple racing grooves and a history of some beating and banging, Richmond is a fan favorite and driver favorite as well. The Little Virginia short track has 14 degrees of banking in the corners with 8 degrees awaiting the drivers on the front stretch. No matter what vehicle you drive here at Richmond, tight in the center is usually what you end up fighting the most, based around the fact that drivers are carrying such high speeds into the corners each and every single lap. Now, the best drivers would be the ones that you're going to be seeing working the brake bias to adjust as the track temperature changes. If you find yourself racing in the baking Virginia sun, corner exit will be your worst enemy. When the sun comes up and brings those track temperatures with it, the grip level at Richmond absolutely plummets. Richmond has been around for quite a while, tracing its roots back to the beginnings of NASCAR. With a recent renovation, it's prone to be a NASCAR for quite some time, which isn't a bad thing if you ask me. This has been our guide to the Richmond Raceway. Sit back and enjoy the show.
This is a track that's become more and more popular as the years go by, Joey, including having other tracks model themselves after it.
It's actually one of my favorite NASCAR tracks on the schedule. We're here at Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. It is a D-shaped oval, but the one thing, it's a short track, right? We're typically seeing these D-shaped ovals in the 1.5 mile configuration. This is half that size in a 3/4 mile. So we get the usual bumping, banging, emotional short track racing that we're going to see out of the drivers. But because of that D shape, we're also going to see some alternate lines going into turn number one. In the real world, you can actually shorten that distance. Think about an autocross. The shortest distance around can be the fastest way. Well, here at Richmond, that can also play dividends.
And I think that high versus low line going to be a big talking point as the race carries on. But let's talk about the Drivers' Championship in the meantime. It's currently being led by Oscar Fredrickson, and it's not many points between many drivers here. When you've got less than 100 points between our top five, and the championship still has a handful of races to go, you know this is wide open. So Batten, Schmeier, Erickson, and Holmer very much in play. Now, we could have a few that jump up, but it's difficult to be as consistent. Watch out for Kinchlow and Partridge, who have been regulars in this series for a long time, to do their best to kind of use that to their advantage and knowing what's coming to practice. But that is just the drivers standing here on the Atlantic side. We also have a teams championship.
Right now, it is SimRace Sweden Esports Pro leading that by 237 points over Fusion Gold, sitting there in that second place. A little bit of a gap, though, back to Dog Bear Bite sitting in third. Grizzly TFR in fourth. Ubox Goody in fifth place. Easygrass Yorkshire with another big gap back to sixth. Sapphire Sim Sport Atlantic seventh. Evolved Sim Sport Atlantic and Satellite Racing make up those 9 teams in that team standings.
As for the race that we are about to see, we've got 400 laps that the drivers are going to be running. And this isn't in the modern next-gen cars. This is in the Gen 4 cars. So hence why I brought up the late 90s, early 2000s when NASCAR really started to explode and become extremely popular here in America. And they've got 8 tire sets as well. So that includes the one that they start on. That limit will be a factor as the race goes on. You need to use them wisely. Cautions naturally are going to be on, which is also going to be a big talking point because you're going to want to save your pit stops for those yellows if possible. And the lucky dog is on, which will be needed because it's a short track and cars are going to get lapped relatively easily here. But it makes me think we'll see some fighting for that highest lapped spot. Now, before we get to the racing, let's talk about our sponsor. Make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. And as always, they have a charity that they raise money for with the extra qualifying attempts here. And tonight, it's for Sarge's Place. Sarge's Veteran Support is a nonprofit serving Clallam and Jefferson counties in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington State, and they offer homelessness services to those who have served our country, whether at peacetime or at war. For more information, check out our link in the description below. Definitely, I'm sure, something that touches the lives of folks around you out there, Joey.
Absolutely. Here in the Pacific Northwest, it's definitely a huge issue, and it's great to see just not all of these communities just letting it slip by, but here, even in the sim racing community, doing something good to help our world. And it's not the virtual world. So yeah, I am all for that. And I think we actually have practice winding down right now on Richmond. You see just under 1 minute here left on the timer, and then drivers will hop on over into that race session.
Indeed. Qualifying has already been, the order has been set. So this will go straight into the race session and we'll get underway. Like we mentioned, 400 laps, but with cautions on, we're expecting there will be a few times that this will slow down. We'll see how frequent that will be because it's going to be difficult to go the full 400 laps without that coming out at least once, especially at a track like this. I've kind of bookmarked both the exit of 2 and 4 here, Joey, because every time I've seen races here, those corners seem to catch somebody out.
I think that we could probably circle all 4 turns, don't you think? Because you're right, with this car combination, you have to be extremely patient with your right foot. We're going to be talking about that egg under the throttle, right? If you squeeze that throttle too fast, you're going to crack the egg and it's going to be messy underneath there, aka you get wheel spin and loop the car around. You're going to have to be gentle with that throttle pedal.
All right, they wrap up that practice session. Hope everybody's got enough under their feet and that they feel confident about how this is going to play out. And it will take us to our starting grid today. With it being a short track, that could be extremely important in and of itself. Up at the top for the pole, it is going to be Garen Batten with Kenneth Reeder starting in second. Next to him, Hakenschut is going to be in the third spot with Jesper Eriksson starting in fourth. After that, it is Jeff Schmeier starting P5, Jeff Cardamone in the sixth spot. Travis Anderson will start the next row in seventh. He's got Jason Wallet in P8 alongside. Finally, we've got Mike Golightly in ninth, and then Oscar Fredrickson rounding out row 5.
And then in 11th place, we have Cedric Holbom. Next to him is going to be Daniel Homer in that number 987 starting from 12th. Tom Dreiling here in 13th place with Mark Redeker in 14th. Lynn Kinchlow starting in 15th place with Daniel Blomqvist next to him on row number 8 in 16th. And we got James Dean starting 17th, Gary Thomas 18th, Rob Courtney 19th, and Wolf Dietrich Otto in 20th.
After that, Michael Hogg starts 21st. Sam Watley will start 22nd. Craig Hawkins in 23rd. Ernie Ludwig 24th. And Togo Hisada actually joins us today in 25th. Now, that might seem a bit unusual for those that have not watched the other vintage series we cover on these weekends, but Togo is actually quite good at ovals, but usually we see him in open wheel. So I am very interested to see how this goes for him, Joey.
I am too, but I'm going to draw some parallels from his typical Lowe's 49 because that car moves around a ton underneath, so he's very comfortable with the car control. I think these Gen 4 cars very, very similar, and I know the time zone that he's in. I don't know if you've caught the livery, but it's Cheerios. It's kind of appropriate because I think it's early in the morning for him.
Probably something like 3 or 4 in the morning for him right now, actually. Yeah, it's going to be late if you're looking at it the other way. We get 2 pace laps here. I also see things appropriate out on the track on other liveries. I see a Target car. I see an old Jeff Gordon scheme out there. So there's definitely some drivers getting in the mood.
Gotta love to see it. I talk about it quite a bit because I think that the virtual world, it allows a ton of creativity, and that's exactly what we see. We can recreate stuff from in the past. We can create fun stuff. We can create humorous stuff, but one thing that the sim racing crowd always does is they get out the creativity, and I love to see it.
Well, will they have to be creative in trying to make the line work on either the inside or the outside, maybe crossing over a few times here, maybe getting out the chrome horn, as we saw in real life at this track recently. The pace car is now peeling in, and Batten has control of the field, and the green flag is out. He gets a pretty good jump as we fly down towards the first turn. Still a bit of side-by-side behind him, but that's actually a very single-file pack, surprisingly, coming in behind them.
Yeah, and we see him still a little bit too wide through turns 1 and 2. That high line, and there goes the 41 car, and we've got our first yellow flag of the day. I believe that was Kenneth Reeder, one of the cars that was inside the top 3. Just got anxious on that gas pedal on that turn number 2 you were talking about.
Now, I think he actually had a little bit of help from the 37. There may have been some contact. Now, he could have already started that spin around, as you were saying, but it definitely had a little bit of a touch to help send that the rest of the way. Now, they do not have live stewards in this series to hand out penalties, but they will look at things afterwards if anybody protests any sort of moves. And I wouldn't be shocked if we had a number of protests after this race, with it being a short track.
And you're right, Joe. I went back and looked at it, and the 101 definitely got into the back, and we're going to see it on this GSRC replay. So watch this target car, this red and white number 41. This is all going to happen on the exit of turn number 2 here. He just kind of tracks up, and it's not the 101. It's actually the 37 that just barely makes contact, and you say, well, why didn't it spin to the right side of the racetrack if it made contact with the right rear? Well, these noses on the cars, they're actually kind of like a shovel, and you look at the back end of the car, it's quite high. What he did when he made contact is he actually lifted the back end of the number 41 up off of the ground, and I think that's actually what caused the spin.
Wow, so they've already found trouble before completing lap 1, but like we said, off of turn 2, we'll see that plenty, but they've managed to at least keep it as a 1-car incident, and Reeder is actually back out there. He's headed into the pits now. I think he's probably just topping up, since he is going to be coming from the back of the field, and that is Tom Dreiling as well, that has already taken a pit stop, I think, and topped up himself, and will join up on the tail end of things. So already seeing a couple drivers that are maybe trying to take advantage of the lack of track position to run alternate strategies.
I think the one saving grace for the 41, maybe there's a little bit of a scrape on the right front fender, but I mean, he made contact with that concrete wall on driver's left, but I really don't see any significant damage, and you couple that with this 3/4 mile short track, I don't think that he's going to have any problem moving through the field.
Yeah. Anything that's aero bits likely is not going to hurt you too badly. Now, one thing that we should note that you didn't see on the on our details graphic is that they have a spare car in this series. Everybody has one sitting in the pits. If the car gets too damaged, they can take that out and carry on. But you only have the one. And with how long this race is, you need to hold that ace up your sleeve very close to your chest.
And, you know, they do have a fast repair, a spare car, if you will. Just the way that you were describing it, it reminded me, you remember when Formula E still had to have two cars and the driver physically had to jump out of the car and get into the spare car? I would love to see that. Little
animation in iRacing where they scramble over to it. That would be great. Togo Hisada, has he gained any spots? Yeah, in the two corners of racing that we had, he managed to get up to 20th. Now, granted, he gained the spot for Reeder and Dreiling from them heading down pit lane, but at least he's on an upwards trajectory. And they've already gone double file. We will be doing these double file restarts, and they will get going once again on lap 7 because the lights are out.
And just a quick moment of pit strategy, and reason why nobody came down is if you split 7 tires evenly, we're looking at about 55 to 60 laps if you want to cut it evenly by the math.
You definitely have to be frugal. Here we go. Green flag is out. Garen Batten, again, with a pretty good start off the line. This time Ericsson with nobody in front of him, except for that leader. They plunge down into turn 1. The 101 Oshut is going to plug things up behind him as Jason Wallet unfortunately has to check up. You can see him there on the bottom of the bright blue machine.
Yeah, it just kind of didn't get going off at turn number 2, and now you see one of these cars, I believe that was the 30, way up top there in turn number 3 and 4, trying to get the drive, and the 37 now of Ericsson taking the lead on the low side of the racetrack in turn 1 and 2.
Batten doesn't fight it too hard. Is Ericsson maybe trying to play the rabbit to the tortoise of everybody else at this stage? Because you just mentioned the tires, Joey. Is this Garen Batten saying, all right, I've got the lead, let's pace myself?
I think so. I think that Garen Batten is extremely skilled, especially when it comes to oval racing. He knows what it takes to go fast, or what it takes to go fast over the course of the entire tire life. So sometimes if you go out there and be too aggressive early on, you can burn that tire off. Only time will tell.
Wallet has started to catch up to the back of him too, as we check in behind on Travis Henderson with the number 24 there on the bottom side of the 987. Hockenschut just in front of him, but not by much as he dives it in. They go 3 wide now with the 24 on the bottom side. Can he get the throttle down on the exit is the real question coming from that shallow. He does pretty decently, but they're still 3 wide now. Finally, the 101 has to give it up. Still on the high side, though, the 987 of Homer is fighting hard, and that was a big wobble from Henderson.
And what's tricky is this car right in front, this 32, is actually a couple laps down. I'm seeing 6 laps down. That's Wolf-Dietrich Otto, so he's going to probably try to blend into the racetrack here. But you got to remember, this is the fight for the top 10. So the drivers see it early on. They don't want that number 32 mixing up inside their windshield. So they're going to try to get him out of the way. But he's got a right to be on the racetrack, and he's not involving anybody in any contact right now.
We'll get some more side-by-side racing as the 24 sees the 101 below as well as go lightly. Oh, and getting 3 wide with some contact. The 32 getting a bump and now a spin as he's sent to the exit of turn 2. That is Wolf-Dietrich Otto. He's facing the wrong way, waiting for himself to get turned around. Now it looks like he's able to spin it right side forward, and he goes to the very back of the field.
And I kind of set the table on that one. I had mentioned that Hotto was a few laps down there, and just when you're inside the top 10, your focus is on your battle. And if you look down at your relative box, your black box, and you see a car that's several laps down, you tend not to give them the respect that you should. It's easy for all that to kind of go out the window when you're in the middle of a battle, and so early on, I just kind of think that's what happened.
This time with the yellow coming out with drivers a lap down, Tom Dreiling should get the lucky dog and be waved around the field. In fact, I think that's happening now. We're going to get another look at the incident. So this is starting down the back stretch, coming up on to the main straightaway, looking from the right-hand side, driver's left-hand side of the car. Oh, wow. Yeah. The 101 was coming in there in a hurry, that's for sure.
And what you didn't see was the 24 was on the outside of the 32 in all of that. So it was kind of 3 wide or pushing 3 wide going into turn number 1. The 32 was in a really bad spot. It was just tough to see for sure.
Yeah, it saw them coming from both sides and kind of picked the middle, but maybe the Haken didn't know that he was going to do that. Figured he would stay up to the very high side, and the two came together.
Well, it's been a little bit of a slow start going out here. Seen a couple cars turned around already. I think that maybe it's Wolf Dietrichotto out there that is probably the only car with significant damage from that contact. But other than that, everybody else has stayed somewhat patient. It's just these cars, they can be so tricky to drive, especially on a short track.
Yeah. This series, we'll talk about it more, has drivers in lots of different cars, so not all of them may have much experience in these classic NASCAR stock cars. If you want to know a little bit more about the series, though, definitely check out their podcast, Inside the Majors. It's available via Substack, as well as we've got links in the Discord over in Majors. And they release every 2 weeks. So they've got info for the series in there. They got member interviews. And apparently coming up, they've got features for the survey results for 2025 and series changes, as well as the calendar details for next year. That's what everybody wants to know, Joey, is what's going to be on the calendar next year.
And with such a variety, I think that's why it's so greatly anticipated, right? Because sure, we're racing ovals and Gen 4s here, but you race formula cars, you race off-road trucks, you race GT cars, you race everything with the major series. And so I think the schedule announcement is where everybody's kind of like, so it's one of those unboxing videos, right, Joe? It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, is the car and track going to be that I want on that schedule?
Always, 100%. They finally did the car and track I wanted, and then I wasn't around for it this year. So maybe, hopefully next year I'll be around for the weekend if they bring back the green hell with the 49 once again. SimRacing Sweden up at the front. The Swedes have actually done pretty good at the ovals in the past here. And Jesper Eriksson, no stranger to this. You wouldn't think so again, but there's a number of oval fans over in Europe, and some of them race on them quite often. But they're going to get another restart, this time with a new leader at front. Well, the initial start and the restart after the first yellow saw Batten lead the way. What's going to happen with the 37? And will he be able to hold on to that top spot? Will he try and run away once again? Will he pay for that and rubber later on, or can he keep it up? Lots of questions, not many answers yet, but the green flag is out. That will answer that part, and he gets a good start, does the 37.
Little hole shot down into turn number 1, side by side between Wallet and Batten. It's actually Wallet that gets through. So the number 61 of Garen Batten, 3 wide down the back straightaway, maybe a little bit of nudging there, and now it finally settles down to 2 wide. But this black and green number 61 definitely in full tire conservation mode.
Jeff Schmeier was just going by. Now the other Swedish driver, Oskar Fredriksson, onto the inside of Batten. Sometimes that high side is where you want to be because these cars get loose coming off, but he gets fed almost into the wall there.
Yeah, and I think that we're just seeing a lot of drivers clear themselves when they're not clear at all. That 955 of Fredriksson was just, had a car to the outside, and he just drove it straight to the wall. So tip of the cap to Garen Batten for not wrecking 2 cars.
Yeah, and I'm starting to notice that mid-line does seem to be where drivers want to be. When they're pinched down to the bottom, as we've got another car in the wall here. I think that was Lynn Kinchlow just brushing it in his UDOT's machine, but we'll watch from on board Travis Henderson's 24.
I think the other edge to this is that if you drive super, there's the yellow flag. Looks like maybe Rob Courtney, the number 64, had an issue somewhere. Looks like he's on the front straightaway, all turned around. But what I was going to say, Joe, is that if you're really aggressive on these tires, it's just going to make it more and more difficult to drive as the race goes on.
I think Courtney spun on his own and then had a little help to finish it off, as poor Craig Hawkins had no place to go. So this is our 4th caution of the day. We'll try and get this back going once again. This does do a really good job of extending the tires. I'll say that. I don't think that's the way the drivers want to extend these tires, but I got to think with that also saving a bit of fuel, that we'll probably see a number of drivers try to go as long as possible before they finally stop in. Meanwhile, I'm willing to bet that we'll get a few more, if we keep getting these cautions, Joey, that will start to, there's the replay. Wow, yeah, big hit to the side there. A few more drivers that will come in from the back of the pack, top up, and see if they can kind of out-strategize the drivers at the front.
Well, I think that's what Garen Batten is doing, right? Save your tires, save your best stuff for the end. He knows how to do it, and I don't know if you caught that, Joe, but the back half of the field, or the back third of the field, was off the track going into turn 3. There were several on the apron down there. I know it's 100 laps of practice, but I would have thought they would have known where the racing line was.
I didn't catch that. You talked about it. Off of turn 4, this thing gets so slippery, and you got to be careful with that throttle. And I had brought up about turn 2 there. You see drivers get pinched down, seem to have issue trying to do the same off of turn 2. You want to be up high and trying to be able to carry that speed. So it's going to be an absolute dogfight to get the desired racing line.
100%. And the cars are not easy to drive. And I think a great example of somebody who's taken it nice and easy and who doesn't really have a stock car background. Look at that number 6, our biggest mover already, up 11 positions. That's Togo Hisada. We've talked about him a couple times, but he is a Formula Car guy. He's a Lotus 49 guy, and yes, he's good at ovals, but ovals on the open wheel side. It is totally different than driving one of these big old stock cars, but one thing that Togo is good at, he's got a head on his shoulders, and he knows when to push it and when not to push it.
Exactly. He knows how to be fierce when it's required. But that said, you brought up the open wheel background. You generally don't want to contact at all in those, especially the 49s. In these cars, especially at a short track, beating and banging comes with the territory. How is he going to be having to deal with that aspect?
I agree. I think with 400 laps, get used to it, right? If you're a driver, take the first 100 laps to just kind of get used to how everybody is racing and how the car is acting on the racetrack. But think about how many laps you got with your competitors on the playground to kind of figure all of that out. So I expect by lap 300, Togo will be in full racecraft mode. He'll understand the big picture around him. He'll have a handle on the car and the track, and then he's going to go to work. If he's still in it, that is.
Yep. So much stuff that could send you out of this race that is completely not your fault. So you've got to keep your wits about you and just try to be there at the end. Jason Wallet having a pretty good day here. Going to restart on the front row. Still looking for his first win here, at least in the top split for our pro split for the majors. He's got 2 top 5s so far. Not that many considering how much we've seen him around the top split over the years, but it looks like this is definitely his wheelhouse this time. He's been up towards the front since the get-go. The pace car is in, and the number 37 is off like a shot. Jesper Eriksson runs away while Jeff Schmeier takes the inside away of Jason Wallet. He's going to take that second spot from him. Daniel Homer can't quite do the same. They now hit the backstretch.
We've seen that same start 4 times from a couple different leaders now, as Wallet and the 987 are a little bit side by side, but looks like Wallet's going to hang on to third place. Daniel Homer with a nice run might have actually made a little bit of contact, and we got problems with the 462 in the back of the field.
That's Redeker, and the engine looks to have expired somehow. Not sure what that's about. Should be able to pull off and get out of the way without causing a caution. Michael Hogg in a little bit of side-by-side action. This is down into 3 and 4. Ludwig to his inside. Hogg gets the shot off the turn in the Baby Metal machine and tries to carry the speed down into turn 1 to finish the job.
See what's going to happen. Is it going to be the launch off of the corner, the shortest distance around? It actually looks pretty dead even. And now maybe the 26 losing a little bit of ground, but that 744 fired it off into turn number 3. Not sure if that's going to pay off. He really diamonds the corner, but you see, doesn't have a huge run down the straightaway, maybe about a half a car width he gained.
He's doing it again, way deep down into 1, and then crosses back over 2, and it's working well. Meanwhile, checking in with Hisada. This time he's fighting with Blomqvist, who is to the outside. Behind them, watching on, is Kenneth Reeder, already recovered up to 14th.
And if we watch the attitude of these cars, the natural characteristic on that corner exit, if you watch the back end, it's definitely going to squirm around a lot. We've talked about the tires, we've talked about the big horsepower, but this is also the longest green flag run we've got. So if you're abusing the tires and getting them high up in temperatures, that back end of the car is going to squirm around even more.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that myself, that those drivers that are trying to send it in so hard, I don't think are going to be hanging around for too much longer. We do still have 22 cars on the lead lap. Now that we're starting to get some laps under green here, we watch from the back of Daniel. Does look like Kenneth is ready to try and go on by Togo Hisada. I kind of wasn't too shocked that he's following up through the field, but now he's decided he's had enough help pushing the hole through the air, and now the 6th car is going to give way and allow the 41 through.
And it's not difficult to go too wide on a racetrack like this. However, it is difficult to conserve your tire and drive exactly how you want. Let's say if you're that inside car, you want to throttle up and get off of the corner, but you can't do it exactly how you want if you've got a car to your outside. If you're on that outside lane, you want to be able to dive down to that apex, down to that yellow line. But if there's a car to the inside, guess what? You can't be aggressive on that corner entry. So too wide, not an issue around here, but it's up to the driver how efficient they want to be.
Play on Mark Rediker on this restart. So he's done something where the engine just didn't like it. I'm not sure if that was shifting up. Let's listen. Car starts to slide. And now has it already lost power? Yeah, it's smoking behind him. Maybe a money shift.
That's what I would guess. Typically, the guys are running paddle shifters, but it's not unheard of to have an H-pattern shifter, and that could certainly cause that.
Yeah, especially if they're going period appropriate on this one. As the race goes on, Daniel Holmer now up into 4th position, trying to see if he can push Wallet down one more spot after he lost 2nd place on this restart. Hasn't got the job done yet. He's got Oscar Fredrickson just behind him, hoping to follow through. Not sure if we'll see the freight train here, that if you get off the line, you know, you'll find the pack going by, Joey, but it does look like the danger could be there.
And that kind of answers my question. I was curious if the 658 went way up high in turn 1 on the previous lap on purpose, and it just kind of proved he didn't. He just kind of missed the corner there, but I think the low side of the racetrack right now is probably where you want to be. You see Jason Wallet have the run down the front straightaway, but this is a D-shaped oval, and typically the shortest distance around going into turn 1 is advantageous, and you see the 658, once he's back on the racing line, down low, he's got plenty of speed.
Yeah, so he's back into the racing line now. The 10 up to his high side is unfortunately going to prevent him from carrying as much as he wants. That's Cedric Holblum. Cedric going to easily finish that one up. Now he's got Travis Henderson in behind him, along with Garen Batten. Now, is Garen still moving backwards, or is he starting to push it a little bit harder? That was way high up off the corner there for the 658.
My prediction, these sim racers love to prove me wrong, Joe. My prediction was totally wrong. I expected Wallet, once he got back in the racing line, to pick it back up, but I wonder if he's just burned the tires off, because his lap time, let's see here, last was a 22.9. Compare that to our leaders of a 22.4. And everybody behind him, including the 24, is at a 22.7. So I think that blue 658 might be in a little bit of trouble.
With this being a twilight into night race, the track temperatures aren't super high. It's only 79 Fahrenheit right now. So you wouldn't think they'd go away super quickly, but it looks like you still got a baby in them quite a bit. Jason just can't seem to stop the bleeding now.
And I'm watching the attitude, so let's watch the steering wheel, right? Anytime you're counter steering, You're scrubbing that tire off, you're losing speed, and looks pretty neutral off of turn number 2. Oh, got into the wall a little bit on the back straightaway there, had to lift off the throttle, and then just really got up high in turns 3 and 4, and you see him, just a little bit of counter steer, even all the way up to the start-finish line. It shows you how slippery these cars are and how much they actually want to turn left.
Shoots on his inside, trying to get the pass done. And they've been battling now for about a lap and a half. Can he finish this one up? He's down to the front left of the car now as we're watching off the rear. Stays off the wall this time, but Haken is now fully past him and up into 8th position. Jason lost 2 from where he started this race. Definitely a lot of comers and goers, because the top 5 have all gained no less than 3 positions, some as many as 8.
I like that you mentioned, you had like half a car left on there, and with a short course, it's not typical, or I should say it is typical, to see a pass take more than 1 lap, to take more than 2 laps. Sometimes it can take 3, 4, 5, 6 laps to complete out there. And it really is a game of inches. As long as you can start to get up alongside of them, you just got to keep on chugging, and eventually you might get that pass done.
Getting close to that lap 50 mark, you said, if you wanted to spread those tires out evenly, but that is also including a bunch of yellow flag laps. So we don't anticipate seeing anybody in at this mark, especially if it stays green. Oscar Fredrickson up here in 4th has not visited pit lane. We've only had, looks like, 4 different cars head down there. And then Tom Dreiling, I think, started from the pit lane, it appears, as he has a little bit of a number next to his name. Oscar Fredrickson still hunting Daniel Holmer to try and get onto the podium.
Now, I know that there's going to be a variety of strategies that are being played, but I think when we talk about sim racing, not everybody has a spotter, not everybody has a crew chief on the box that can help you out with that strategy. So if you came into today just expecting to do it by the math, we might see some drivers pit at about lap 60 or so to come in and take a set of tires and fill it up on fuel. Others are just going to kind of play it as it is with the yellow flags. But one car that has caught my eye out here, Joe, that black and turquoise number 61, all of a sudden he has got a lot of speed and he can put the car anywhere he wants to on the racetrack.
Interesting, that one. This is Lynn Kinchlow on the high side of Mike Golightly. They're fighting for 11th currently. Behind them also the 41 of Reeder did smack the outside at 2 pretty hard, and that's allowed Hisada to start his battle in behind him. You can see it in the rearview mirror. I do love this VR headset perspective that Lynn sends us.
And I finally figured it out, Joe. You see the airplane HUD that he's got up there?
Oh.
That is a mirror. That is a virtual spotter. So you see it's calling the car behind right now, and then when the car gets up alongside, it's got a little notification that triangle moves to the left side or the right side. It's a pretty neat little spotter element.
Clever. That is
and it
cool.
even had like the quarter of the car, the bumper, the quarter, half up for. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
It does feel very reminiscent of what you'd see on fighter jets, kind of, in a way. But as we watch them carry on, we hear cars are likely to pit soon, maybe. We're watching out for that. We're going to go 3 wide now. Kenneth Reeder coming up to the back of the 44 as both he and Golightly, and then once again hits the outside wall. That's the second time within a couple laps that 41 has done that.
You got to watch out for it. Maybe once or twice is okay, and if you hit it, sometimes it might even help the car handle a little bit, and you say, yeah, maybe if I hit it again, it'll help it even more. But trust me, you want to stay off of that wall. It is a good recovery drive for this number 41 of Kenneth Reeder, though. Remember, he got involved on lap number 1 as they get into it right in front. 3 wide, Togo Asada on the bottom.
So that was Golightly, maybe getting a little bit loose, going too high and into the side of the 44. Kinchlow had no place to go and had to smack the wall. Thankfully, everybody still carries on, and this allowed Togo Hisada to get not 1 but 2, and Kenneth Reeder has nothing left underneath him as he almost spins it again off of turn 2.
It's very interesting to just watch the tire life difference as we jump up to what is kind of the top 3 battle. You see the number 24, Travis Henderson. He's holding off Cedric Holbom right behind him. He's also got Garen Batten in the number 61, but I think it's actually the number 10 that's starting to fall through. He's going to try to over-under. The fastest car of this group, I definitely think, is that 61.
Cedric Holbom with the over-under, trying to take the spot here, fighting for 5th with the 24, but just can't drift on out to the outside and has to give it up. Falls back in behind Henderson now. Stays to the low side as they exit out of 3 and 4 and tries to regroup to see if he can attack again.
It's actually a decent little train. About, call it 4 or 5 cars here is Daniel Blomqvist, Togo Hisada, as well as the 658 of Jason Wallet. This is all still going on back here for kind of what is a fight inside the top 10 or for a top 10.
6 car going to be able to take Wallet, it appears. Yep, that is going to be a clear car. So the 6 now up to the top 10 in the field. 14 positions gained. I don't think he had Cheerios. I think he had his Wheaties this morning.
That's a good reference. I was actually going to reference that blue 658 of Jason Wallet because remember on the restart, he was way up there. He was running inside the top 3, but it's just kind of been a steady fall now down to 12th place as Togo in this Cheerios number 6 is looking down to the inside of turn number 1. It's just been a very steady climb for Togo Hisada today.
And we could hear Blomqvist pedal that car as he came off the corner. Had to give a big lift and then get back on the throttle. So that's why you saw that 6 just breeze on past him with relative ease. Hisada now up into P9. Needs to go about 1.7 seconds up to Cedric Holbom there. So he's got a ways to go to get to the next car, but his pace looking very good. For reference, the last lap for Togo, a 22.8, Holbom, a 23.1.
I want to see what this time is because this is a clean lap. Another 22.8 from Togo Hisada. He is officially the fastest car on the racetrack, and he's sitting in 9th place right now. Our leader, Ericsson, a 23.0. I don't know if it's tire wear. I don't know if it's high line versus low line, but the strategy cards will start to be played on a full tire run.
Last caution ended on lap 27. They've been going green ever since. How long are they going to last before they finally come in? And I kind of wonder because, you know, we kept saying this one is likely to go by the tires falling out, but who dares try to pit under green?
So I'm going to nerd out because this is what I love, is strategy, right? In a short track, you can really shoot yourself in the foot with that, can't you? So if you pit too early, you go a lap down, and then somebody wrecks out there, well, guess what? You're kind of stuck. You can get a lucky dog, but you got to be that first car that's 1 lap down, or you hope that everybody hits in front of you so you can get a wave around. However, if we do have a full cycle of green flag stops and you come in early, you get those fresh tires on early, and you're making lap time early, that can actually scoot you up the order quite a bit, but it has to stay green throughout that entire cycle.
Watching Jeff Schmeier, who's a ways behind Ericsson, but also trying to run away from Fredrickson behind him, is now dealing with the lap traffic. This is also going to be a consistent feature as we have our first taker in Lynn Kinchlow. I wonder if that smack of the wall did do some damage to the car, and he's trying to see if he can get a bit of it repaired.
I wonder if we saw maybe another one because you see both front corners on that car pretty heavily damaged. But I think when we look at the big picture, it's okay to pit right now as long as you can get it fixed and get back out onto the line.
It was a bit of a sketchy moment for Holbom, who got way loose coming down into turn 1. That, again, gives another one to Togo Hisada, who's now to 8th place. I have to check and see how many starts Togo even has in the majors. I'm pretty sure. Did he come out for the Lotus 49s? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I feel like he would.
I'm not sure. I feel like he would too, and I feel like I've seen him around a little bit. But honestly, I expected Togo to move forward in this race. Anytime he shows up, he's going to be one of the fastest guys. But Look, we're only working lap number 70 of 400. We're not even 25% of the way into this race. We've had multiple cautions already, and here he is sitting inside the top 8 when he started dead last.
Yeah, it's,
and the fastest car.
Man, I'm with you that it's not shocking, but it's impressive nonetheless. He's now approaching Rob Courtney, another lapped car. And again, he's pretty good knowing how to deal with stuff like this, getting drivers of various pace over in the Grand Prix Legends series. Watching this battle now behind him is Blomqvist has Cedric Holblum behind him, or excuse me, ahead of him. Also dealing with Mike Golightly, sliding up a little bit there.
I think kind of what puts it into perspective about this number 6 car too is I've been singing the praises of Aaron Batten. He's now just 2 cars right in front of Togo Hisada. So that really is one of these guys who knows his way around an oval, knows his way around one of these stock cars. And Togo Hisada right now is just a man on a mission. The 32 gets checked up. I should say the 61 gets checked up by the 32. He's going to offer some more positions to grab for this number 6 cars. The 32 once again chops the nose of the 101. You got to be careful out there, bud.
Be tight quarters. 101 has been kind of up and down today. Up as high as the top 3 where he started. Slipped down to 8th. They go by now the lap car of Michael Hogg, and also dealing with Garen Batten, trying to see if he can get that pass done. He's going to get underneath him down the main straight. He's got his foot in the door, and he's going to have that very shallow entry that you talked about, that shorter distance around the bottom. But can he get the shot off the corner? No. Garen Batten fights back.
This is kind of the seesaw battle, so we're going to see that car on the outside really drive it in deep, diamond it out, and then try to focus on the corner exit, just like what we saw right there. And now what Togo Hisada needs to do on the bottom is be as smooth as he possibly can, right? The more speed he can roll around the apex of turn 1, he can clear himself over Batten, and I think that Garrett knows that right now. He's just going to tuck in line behind Togo.
So another spot for the number 6 now. We got another taker in pit lane. That is Craig Hawkins, another driver who's at least 1, maybe 2 laps down. And he's also got significant damage on the nose of that AC Delco number 4. Another classic livery out there running. But he's going to take all 4 tires, and he'll be back out.
Checking in on Daniel Homer here in the 4th place position. He is kind of reeled in that car right in front of him. That is the 955 of Oscar Fredrickson in 3rd as they round the corner here in turns number 1 and 2. I don't know what the full fuel tank can go, and I'm a little bit curious here, Joe, because we've hit a plateau with the fall off. They're doing solid low 23s, but that's only about 1.2 to 1.4 seconds slower than their fastest. I don't see him really falling off of a cliff right now.
Yeah, and that, I think, is going to play a big part of who's choosing to try and make that undercut. So will they continue to come in, or will we see drivers just push the limit until that fuel cell is dry? Togo Hisada, just an unrelenting march up through the field. Travis Henderson, the next one. And Travis is going to carry that high line. I have to say, I'm impressed with the way Togo has made that bottom side work. Not sure if his car is specifically set up for that, but usually I've seen it be a lot more difficult to make those passes on the bottom side as the 24 gets a wiggle off of 4.
You got to be patient, right? You got to be patient with the throttle, and I think that's exactly what Hisada is with those Lotus 49s. He knows patience. He can't just drive those cars in crazy deep. So he's got something going on here that the others have yet to figure out. And talking a little bit about that undercut strategy as Garen Batten, the 61 car, comes in a little bit early. He's going to stop, get those fresh tires, and try to go make some lap time out there on the racetrack. But if I'm a crew chief right now and I'm calling strategy, I'm going to try to replicate what the number 6 is doing because he's the fastest car on the racetrack. Oh, we've got a caution. That's going to change everything. Flip the strategy on its lid.
And that is as Garen Batten has already gone a lap down. He just exited pit lane. Wow. Now, what caused this one, though? That's the other question. Heard some people relatively unhappy after that one. Checking to see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly
Go lightly,
where.
I think.
And this was just starting to get interesting with that full fuel run, too, because we were starting to have those front cars pit for tires and fuel. Some of them were starting to stay out, but I have a feeling now that once the safety car collects everybody, they're all going to come to pit lane.
Yeah, at this point, this seems like the right call, and indeed it has, and they are in. I am seeing if anybody chooses to stay out here. Tom Dreiling does. That okay. Wow. I wonder if he'll come right in as soon as he comes back around, because he's the only driver, and I get the feeling he will regret that decision once he sees the numbers. So Ericsson's going to be the first out. It looks like Jeff Schmeier is going to be the second driver in line of those who stopped. Yep, Tom Dreiling will pit in.
And so this is, I'll have to go back and look. The majority of these cars have not stopped from the start of the green flag as we get the GSRC replay. So watch the 32 here. Unfortunately, he's about 11 laps down already. And the 43 was fighting for inside the top 10 at the time. That's Mike Golightly, and the 32 just washes right up the racetrack, gets into the quarter panel of the 43.
Very lucky escape that everybody avoided him there. And it may be a slightly premature caution, as he just got sideways enough that it triggers it here on iRacing automatically. Remember, there's no live steward, so that is all handled by the software. And that brings us to this latest caution. And this is, a great example of some of the intricacies that comes with racing in the majors, because you get instances like this where a driver maybe doesn't have the experience as much running on these ovals as a lapped car, and didn't expect himself to wash up, and neither Golightly didn't expect that either, and just kind of came together in a little bit of a clumsy way.
I agree. It can be easy to trip over yourself and other competitors when you're not familiar with the style of racing. It's always tough to see out there. I don't want to point any fingers. These cars are very difficult to control, especially on a short course. With the throttle, you got to be super patient with it out there. I just think that when there's a lot of the same stuff going on, it just maybe needs a little bit more attention or practice out there. But not going to doubt anything. Racing, accidents happen.
It's rare that you get that perfect one, I'm sure, as wave arounds now happen, thanks to those pit stops, as well as our lucky dog. And that will bring us to, I believe, it looks like 16 cars, I think, on our lead lap now. So that's great news that we're getting some of them back. We're on lap 87, so we're about a quarter of the way through. Now, they did double up, but they just extended the caution. So it looks like they're going to make sure everybody gets nice and lined up here.
I think they're waiting on Gary Thomas, got maybe a wave around. And so I think they're maybe waiting on the number 19. I see also Garen Batten is catching up to the field right now.
Henderson still is. Yeah, there's a number of drivers. Thomas, like you said, this is a good call. They were well behind. So they're going to get everything packed up, get a nice clean restart.
And not to interrupt you here, but real fast, what's very interesting, seeing the 24 and the 61 at the tail end of this has to be an early strategy call, because why would they come back in at the end? They did get a wave around to get back on the lead lap, but I understand. Go fill it up with fuel if you got the opportunity.
He moved back into line. Was there a spin that we missed? Oh, okay. Travis Henderson disappeared. He had a connection problem. He parked it. And this is also why they extended this, so he could get back in line. Green flag is out. Crisis averted. just barely. He's going to put some foil and whatnot on that modem to help it out, probably, as they come around 1 and 2. Ericsson up in the lead as Fredrickson and Schmeier fight for second. Schmeier gives it up, almost gets into the back of Oscar.
Yeah, got onto the brakes really hard there to avoid making impact with that second place car, and we ride on board with Togo Asada, who now finds himself in the 5th place position. The 24 of Henderson down to the inside, but just like we saw early on, I think these fast cars, big wiggle from the 6th car. I think he was going to take it easy, but he's proven me wrong.
Well, Hisada's now got the track position compared to the start of this race. What happens from here now that everything has been backed up and he's in almost the top 5? Lost out to Henderson now, sits in front of him. Behind, we can see, got a little action from Jason Walt, looking for a move, but can't carry it well enough down the back straight. That is the 10 of Holblom and Hackenschott side by side behind them, fighting for 8th.
We've got our entire top 13 only separated by maybe a 10th or 2 of a second per car. As you see the 101 really get down to the inside. I'm surprised to see so many cars running the middle of the racetrack right now. We really saw the bottom of the racetrack prevail on that long green flag run. I'm surprised more cars aren't hugging the yellow line.
They're trying to get down there, but they're leaving maybe a bit of a lane. We've had a caution now, so that should have cooled down the track a little bit in comparison. Remember, these cars are pounding away, just like in real life. That puts heat into the track. Sam Whately is stopped in the pit lane. Not sure if this was an incident or what, but it doesn't look like they're working on the tires right now, so he must have had an issue.
And he drove it down pit lane. It wasn't like he hit the tow button and went down there, so maybe a little bit of an issue. That number 21 is side by side here for what is, I believe, 3rd place on the racetrack. The 19 up into the wall there on the back straightaway. That was Gary Thomas. He was doing a great job just to get out of the way of the lead pack, but unfortunately was scraping the wall.
Doesn't want to be a factor in this one, staying as far offline as he can be. Where are we with the 41? Back in 11th now. What a strange day it's been for this Target car. Down 9 spots from where he started this race. Car seems fast, but it almost seems like Reeder isn't fully happy with the setup of this thing.
Look, man, if you're driving a Target car and there's no jet dryer on the track, it's going to be fast, Joe.
Don't think they've implemented virtual jet dryers yet in this game, although that'll be interesting if they ever do. But Kenneth Reeder's trying to get back into the top 10. That's Blomqvist just in front of him. And the 988 machine. Almost a quarter of a way through this race now. And we've had 4 cautions by our count thus far. So I think I heard a number around 16 for, I think that was our director's call.
I think that was Daniel Costello's call, our director over there. So, we'll see. I was a little worried at the beginning, right? We definitely had a few early cautions, but then it seemed to calm down a little bit. We had a nice full green flag run. And then on this restart, a little bit more patience is being played, right? We're not seeing contact just front to rear or cars being sent up the racetrack or clearing themselves on the back straightaway. So I do feel like the drivers are in a little bit of a rhythm, knock on wood over here.
Now, they're required a minimum amount of practice laps to be allowed to compete. They do that for every race in the major series. This one was 100 laps, which sounds like a lot, but remember, we're talking about 22, 23-second laps to get around here. And that is partly so not just that drivers get used to the cars and the tracks together, but being out there in traffic so that they encourage as many people to be in those practice sessions. And in spite of all that practice that is required, Joey, I feel like it's always going to be different getting to the race itself. And I think everybody's kind of learned a bit in this race session of how it's going to be around other cars.
You always learn more when the competitors, the other drivers are out there. Sure, you can set up like an AI session or something like that to try to simulate it, but it's never the same. You need to be out there on the playground with your friends to see exactly how the fall off is going to be, see exactly how everybody is going to race out there. And you bring up the point of 100 laps of practice here at Richmond. Yeah, that sounds like a lot. We just crossed over 102 right now, but you do the math, it's actually only about 35 minutes worth of practice.
Michael Hogg just in front of Ludwig here. Battle for 15th position. Gonna try and look to the high side. Is he gonna cut back low for turn 3? No. Continues to run a couple lanes up through 3 and 4 onto the main straight, looking for that slingshot off the higher side of the track. And it works slightly, but not enough. He'll resort back to the low line and does do the crossover. Now he just needs the exit off the turn, but there is none there.
I was pretty surprised to see that. He was forced into that over-under, and now Garen Batten's going to have to take a little bit of evasive action as Ludwig he got loose going into turn number 3, had to catch the car, but did an excellent job to catch that slide before impacting a competitor. And look out, the 19 car is in the wall right in front of him. They scoot by. That's once again Gary Thomas just kind of scraping the wall. He's staying out of the way of everybody, which is a great job. Just unfortunate that he made contact with the wall again.
Back up to Cedric Holdbloom here in the 10, unafraid of getting close to his competitors. Wallet nearly getting a hello from him. Hockenschut down to the bottom side. Behind them, Kenneth Reeder was having some connection issues for a brief while. Looks like that has been sorted as he's no longer bleaking on the track, but as they run side by side in front of him, which ring is he going to throw his hat in?
And watching this view, it's almost like watching the magic ball under the cup. Like, which one is going to get all the way forward? Which one do you want? But all 6 of these cars, 5 of the cars right now in the frame, there's Michael Lightly, number 6, but it is all for position as you saw the 101 almost try to clear himself over the nose of Kenneth Reeder coming out of turn number 4 there. Always got to be careful. And now it's the number 10 car of Cedric trying to get to the inside, but it's that kind of that seesaw battle, right? The low line can get around the apex real fast, but it doesn't get down the straightaway as it should.
It gives us these fun battles all throughout the race. Did you see him chop him off drifting up there? That was a little brave from Cedric, but he knew exactly where that car was, and so does the 101 as he does not pull in front of Jason Wallet, as well as the 41 now attacking him as we watch from on the back of Cedric.
See how everything is playing. Oh, that was a huge wiggle from that number 10 car. And in fact, I see the number 41, that target car, having a little bit more of a blinking issue. So maybe that connection problem not completely sorted for Kenneth Reeder, and he actually got a little bit loose. See Hockenschut in that 1-1 just kind of go a little bit further to drivers left, give them a little bit more room, but it kind of stacks them all up behind because you've got Blomqvist and Golightly and include Tom Dreiling, who's actually closing in as well.
It's becoming a bigger battle, I think, than they want. Hocken has been, like I said, up there early, but hasn't really seemed to be able to back it up. Kind of similar to what we've been seeing from Batten, where he qualified so well, but the car in race conditions has been something amiss. Watch them fly down into 1 and 2 once again, while they are held off by Jason Wallet up in the 658.
I'm going to watch these cars very, very carefully on corner exits. See which ones are kind of maybe using a little bit more tire than their competitors. And I have seen that 41 squirm around a little bit as he disappears. More connection issues, and the 101 actually almost got into the back of Kenneth Reeder as we jump up to this battle for what is kind of 4th place on the racetrack. Now, Travis Henderson in that DuPont number 24, he actually is in 4th place. Togo Asada trying to take away 5th right now from that 987 on the top side. I think Togo has finally started to move down to the bottom side of the racetrack again, and this green flag run is getting long enough. His strength is now coming out.
Definitely that long run car that he set this whole thing up for, which is brave at this track, but it's paid off handsomely because it's cleaned up significantly now that it's getting into the meat and potatoes of the race. But Travis Henderson will now see the 6 come in behind him unless the 987 can fight back, and he's trying. Holmer carries a little speed, but not enough, and the 6 is fully through. What's crazy about all this is almost 4 seconds behind Jesper Eriksson already. I mean, the 37 car is just gone.
I agree with you. However, I'm looking at the lap times right now. They're doing 22.8. Fredrickson just did a 22.7. The fall off has yet to hit, right? When they had hit the plateau, they were doing 23.0 to 23.3. So they've still got about a half a second of fall off until they finally get to, call it that dead end life of the tire where you just have to manage it and drive it.
Back to Blomqvist, fighting with Hockenschutz, who has to keep giving space on the high side. He's been stuck down there for some time now, it feels like. Every time we come to this car, go lightly watching, looking to see who to throw in with and try to pick up a position. But he's got to get a little bit closer if he wants to do that. And they continue to run side by side. You talked about how long it can take sometimes to execute a pass.
So we've got now Togo underneath of Travis Henderson here. And this is going to be an example of it's going to take probably more than one lap to get this pass done. I think that the 24 of Travis Henderson has actually been one of the quicker cars out on the racetrack, but I've been obsessed with talking about Togo Asada and Garen Batten and their move through the field, but I got to give credit to this DuPont number 24. It is showing some good speed as well.
He's been very consistent because Travis has started in 6th and currently sits in 4th, might be in 5th, depending on when this pass or if this pass is completed. But I don't think we've ever seen him much farther south than maybe 8th at worst. Car coming out that we just saw, that was Mark Redeker, so he's multiple laps down. Not sure if that was a scheduled stop or if he also had damage to try and repair. The battle carries on as they flash across the start-finish line here, 120 laps into this race, but neither party is willing to give way yet.
It's 3 laps that they've been trying to get this pass done, or I should say Togo has been trying to get this pass done. This is lap number 4 right now. So I think the 24 is a little bit stronger off of turn 4 than he is off of turn 2. You really see him kind of draw up alongside. So let's see if this number 6 car can cut it down, just ride this yellow line, maybe take out a little bit more time. And Togo actually doesn't get completely down to the yellow line, but he focused on the exit there. Clears himself just before a caution flag comes out for the 64, I believe.
Yeah, it does look like Rob Courtney may have been... Oh, no, not initially the cause, I'm finding. I think we need to go to Gary Thomas for that one. And this is a bit of a bizarre incident. If my replay is to be believed, we'll try and check it out in a moment.
Oh,
Multiple cars involved in this one.
So, remember, I have said that Gary Thomas has been doing a fantastic job getting out of the way, but he's been scraping the wall. And Joe, I think we're just going to see that damage finally just kind of fall apart here. And he hits the inside wall in turn number 3. I think he's trying to come to pit road, bounces back out onto the racetrack, and then the 32 just pile drives into him. I mean, I can't blame the 32. Oh, was that Mike Golightly that also got into him right there? Oh.
Or no, Rob Courtney, similarly painted car. But yeah, the 64 was the one that came up to it late and took severe front left damage from it, at least bodywork wise. I'm not sure what the handling of the car is like. He's still out there. And I'm imagining, yeah, he's heading into pit lane, so he's probably going to have to take some big repairs there to get done with that one.
And Joe, I don't know if you saw, but this 19 car, as soon as he came out onto the racetrack, I don't know if he doesn't have steering, but he smacked the wall under yellow flag immediately once he got out onto the racetrack again.
And, you know, that's what I kind of wondered initially, the way it steered to the inside. It could be that he was trying to pit, like you said, but it was just a strange place to hit the car, because usually you don't try and get that low on the entry into that corner.
You know, and I go back and I look at this. The 19 came out of pit lane, and he just overdrove turn 3 and 4, got wicked loose under yellow flag, and drove it up into the wall. We're going to get a replay of it right here, unfortunately. Oh, this is the original replay.
Yeah, different angle. Taking a look at it. Here's the other hit. Oh. I think the 19, did he get his fast repair, though? Is he back out there?
It did look clean, but he hit the wall after.
Oh, man. That's... What a way to end that one. He is still running, like you said, but now his car is compromised again, just as he got a fresh one out. This is the 22 returning to the track. That's Tom Dreiling. So I think he took a bit of an extra stop to get some repairs done on his end, because that was a 40-second pit stop for him. But your new order after this latest set of stops is Ericsson, Schmeier, Fredrickson, and Hisada, your top four. Now, fifth is Holmer, 6, Hockenschut with a 9.8 second stop. We got a gambler out here.
So, I like it. It might be a little bit early to completely pay off for the 101, right? We're not even halfway through, so I wouldn't expect this strategy call to win him the race. But it might be something different to try right now, see what the performance, see what the balance of the car is, because we did not have a completely full green flag tire stint that time. I think it was only about 40 laps or so that we did under green flag. So I think that 2 tires, it might pay off for a little while.
This makes me wonder. I'm trying to figure out which team he races for. If this is him gathering data for somebody else too, is this okay? You get to be the guinea pig, see how this works, and then we can know this a little bit more going forward if we have to try and make a gamble later on. Green flag is out, and the race is restarted with Ericsson leading ahead of Schmeier down into turn 1. Schmeier covering that inside immediately this time, trying to make sure he doesn't lose third, but gets a little bit of a slower exit off of 2. Fredrickson uses that opportunity to get his nose down to the inside, is in the mid-pack. I don't think this is working for the 101. He's getting swallowed up.
You gotta be able to fire off even on 2 tires, and the 101 is back to 9th place right now. He does have the fortunate ability that he's got cars 3 wide right behind him, so just take a little bit of a breath. And Kenneth Reeder had an issue coming out at turn number 2, so now Hockenschut down to the inside. He's going to make the pass on the 41, or at least try to, before he gets stalled up with some wheel spin.
The 101 could not get the power down off the corner. I think he's paying for this, at least for now, while everybody else is on 4 fresh ones. Will it even out over time?
Oh, no.
That's going to be James Dean.
Yep, 7 car. Oh, no! Whoa! That was not very good. I'm not sure why he put it in reverse there instead of pulling forward, but unfortunate to see the second impact.
So, well, here's the thing. I don't think even if he had reversed, I don't think because behind him, from what I'm seeing, yeah, Sam Whately, for some reason, just dives off to the left. I think maybe he was trying to avoid running into the back of the 744. And so he probably would have hit that car anyways.
Yes. Going to get a look at the replay from the 21 here. So let's ride on board. Let's see what his vision is like. See how far forward he is looking. We're going to see a car spin on the left side. Yeah, that's a tough one. So, Joe, I think maybe he got a little bit of loose off of turn number 2, which kind of pointed the car directly towards him. And the term that we use for that is called target fixation, is that you see something in your windshield, you're looking right at it, and you drive straight into it when you want to go around him.
Yep. Definitely a good chance of that being the case. Wonder if he's got a spare car left. Let's see. Yes, he does. So Sam has a chance to get his fresh car out. Craig Hawkins, though, in the 4 car, is done for the day. Now, he's already been in the pit lane for some time. Although, is he officially done? No. Does not have a checkered flag. So that car is still being worked on. Driver has left the server. I'm not sure if he intends to return.
You ever seen the movie Talladega Nights, Joe?
I have, but it's been a long time.
Sometimes you need to park the car on pit road, go get yourself a chicken sandwich in the infield, get re-energized, and come back out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, here we go. This is James Dean, and what caused the original incident, before we watch that sort of messy one after the caution had already come out. Starts to spin, 22, couldn't avoid him, lifts the rear up like you mentioned before. Ooh, good avoidance. That hot, though?
That was in the 32.
Great job by the 32.
Just unfortunate, you know, but I don't think it's going to be the last time we're going to see something like that. So I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to put blame on anybody. It is difficult to try to avoid some of these wrecks. You got to remember, these are 3,500-pound cars on these little itty-bitty tires. They look big, but trust me, they are very, very small for what these cars actually weigh and how big they are. They do not turn like a Formula car. They do not respond like a Formula car. So lots of times you'll see a wreck up there, and it's very, very difficult to avoid it. Some of the best drivers can, and they can manage those situations, but accidents do happen.
And they don't have brakes on them like Formula cars
Correct.
do either. So they're not designed to come to a complete stop that easily and quickly from almost full pace in the case of what we saw there from the Dunkin' Donuts machine. So it's a lot harder than you'd think to try and slow it up in time. That was a lesson hard learned in that case, as we're getting ready to restart on 135 out of 400 laps. We've had a couple long green flag runs. Drivers have gotten a breather and a chance to take a pit stop, but we have yet to see more than just a handful of cars come in for some green flag stops on a gamble. Will we get a full cycle on these? Will we be interrupted again towards the end or middle of this stint? Pace car is in, green flag is out, and the 37 is away once again. He's been able to run from everybody behind quite easily in stints past.
Pretty neat here. On the previous two restarts, you've had all three of those team cars lined up on the bottom, and now you see Ericsson and Fredrickson in first and second. Oh, Henderson has been spun in turn 3. Same thing with Kenneth Reeder. Jason Wallet also is going to go piling into him just like we saw before. Oh, no! You got to slow down if there's a yellow flag, guys.
Well, the Dunkin' Donuts car did this time, but did that start with Henderson? I saw him spinning,
I don't
but
think
that was
so.
After the yellow had been thrown.
Correct. That's what I heard as well, is that the yellow came out, and then there was a separate incident of Henderson going into turn number 3.
James Dean again. This time, though, he got chopped off by Courtney. And I think that's his own teammate. Yes, it is. So that's what started it.
Yeah, that's what brought out the yellow flag. And then there was a second incident going into turn number 3 that involved, I believe it was the 24, the 658, the 41, as well as the 32. And I can't remember who came in at the very, very end of it all. We're going to get a look at some replays here.
Takes away 3 major players there so far in this race. Reeder, Wallet, and Henderson. I'm pretty sure all 3 of them have spare cars waiting. Yeah, and that's just in at least those 2 checking up, trying to avoid that accident. 24, I think, got tipped on the way into the corner. Man, that secondary hit so awful.
And is the 744 right there? Michael Hogg, I'm not sure what was going on at this point. He sees cars parked on the outside of the racetrack. He's already driven by a wrecked car of the 24, and he's just full speed on the racing line and kind of goes bowling.
So it looks like Wallet and Henderson took their spare cars, but Kenneth Reeder has not. He still has his. The reason that's significant, we said this earlier on, once you use that spare car, that's it. Your safety net is removed. And I think we also lose James Dean. Yeah, James Dean, unfortunately, has exited the building. So he's got his checkered flag. He is our first official retirement. Now, we think Craig Hawkins might not be returning, but the sim is not showing him as actually withdrawn.
A little bit of a mental reset for these drivers out here. We had seen a couple decent green flag runs, but seems to have slowed back down again. I believe this is caution number 7 so far. So So we'll get them re-racked. The last time they came in was about 16 laps ago, so I do not expect anybody to be coming down pit road unless they got damage that they want to continue to get fixed up without using a fast repair.
Hey, here's one. Actually, both of them. Wow, look at that. Okay. Oh, and now Reeder's taken his spare car too, so he changed his mind about the damage. I was going to say Travis Henderson came down a second time and topped up. And then I noticed that Reeder was in there with him. And his spare car has now been removed from our time and scoring tower. So he changed his mind. It looks like they're catching up to drivers getting ready to restart this next time by. They are both still on the lead lap. So they're not out of this yet. Neither is Jason Wallet. He's still on the lead lap. But now they're going to have to charge back up through the field.
Let's get set for this restart. Nice and patient here behind the safety car. You know, I always remember Barney. Joe, do you remember what name they gave the pace car driver?
I can't remember. I remember it was said recently on social media, but I've forgotten it. We won't see him, at least for a lap or two, at worst, as we go back to green flag racing. And Jesper Eriksson is going to take the lead back once again. That Swedish team has been kind of controlling the front of the field. Fredriksson and Eriksson, your top two, with Holmer in behind, trying to fend off Schmeier. Schmeier's not a part of that Swedish contention. The Dog Bear driver getting his nose in. Oh, as he comes down into the left-hander at turn one. He'll fight hard on that 987. Schmeier had his first win in the majors earlier on this year at Daytona.
Watching that 987, that is Daniel Homer. He's going to have to tuck in behind that number 30 car now as everybody kind of stacks up single file behind. But he actually almost got into the back of his teammate of Fredriksson on the restart going into turn number 3 there. So thankfully, they didn't make any contact right there. They stay nice and clean as looks like kind of the front 8, maybe front 10 are single file starting to do some laps, getting in the rhythm.
Yeah, this is very single file now. A bit of side-by-side behind them. That looks like Wallet and Henderson. As Henderson tries to make his way back up to the top. Gets a little loose off the corner in the background there. Continue to watch Hisada here, sitting in 6th spot, where he's been hovering for much of the time since he made his way to here. Haven't seen him really gain a whole lot of positions, so don't know if he's just biding his time as we switch back to that battle between Henderson and Wallet.
I think when we talk about Togo as well as watch this battle between the 24 and the 658, I just think we've got to have a green flag run that gets deep into it before we really see the strong point come out for that number 6. The same thing for this black and turquoise number 61 of Garen Batten. Remember, he got caught out early with that yellow flag when he had just made a first green flag stop, so he's recovered nicely, sitting inside the top 10, but he's another one of those drivers that I feel gets faster as the run gets longer.
Watching on board with Wallet. Looks like Henderson's clear of him now. Batten just ahead. Oh, scrapes the wall, does the 658 car. And Henderson takes a peek underneath Batten, hoping to see if he can get in there. Batten instead finds a clear shot off of turn 2. Now on the attack on the car ahead of him as well.
Just got to slowly creep forward. That's Mike Golightly to the outside there. Gets the power down nicely coming out of turn number 4, so he's going to have an advantageous run going into turn number 1. Actually crowds the 61 as much as he possibly can. I don't blame him one bit. Garen trying to finally put the power down, but Mike Golightly is actually hanging on to the outside line better than we've seen others do.
Definitely seems like the car is handling it pretty well. He's going to fight it as they come down into 1 and 2 once again. And yeah, look at him carry speed into the turn, coming into the mid corner, just is farther ahead, but then off of it, drifts a little high. He's going to lose it now as Garen Batten tries to take that 9th spot away. Battle in front of them as well between Blomqvist and Schutt.
Oh, Batten he slipped up. He spun the tires exiting turn number 4. And this might actually be an opportunity because Golightly is way up the racetrack this time. You see the 61 really lurch through the middle of the corner, so it kind of draws him even once again on the back straightaway. But What I was noticing that Golightly is doing, this white and orange number 43, he's crowding that middle lane going into turn number 1. Let's see if he does it again. It's kind of like trying to take the middle or that bottom lane, not allowing it to have as much of an advantage.
It's working decently well. Now he's got to deal with Henderson. Henderson, wow, that was decisive. That took him a lot less time to make that one stick. Behind them, Wallet, as well as Reeder, starting to approach. Things kind of moving backwards for Golightly in this stint.
And Henderson is already showing the nose to that 61 car, so an aggressive move to get by Golightly, and he's already on the charge. He's got his sights set on the front of the field here. That black and gray 988 that's directly in front, he was battling with Hockenschut, but he actually made contact with the wall coming out, I believe, turn number 2 a handful of laps ago. That's what's put him back there in 8th.
Travis Anderson still fighting hard with Batten. Batten maybe expecting to be fighting at the sharper end of the field on this one, but no dice so far. Slipped back early and has been kind of mired in it ever since. Cedric Holblum, in the meantime, is one of the few that have been able to take the fight to Togo Hisada instead of the reverse.
See what this is going to end up with. I think that the number 10 has been a very good short run car that I've seen. He's got a ton of speed on the restarts, and for about 25, maybe 35 laps, then it starts to fall off just a little bit. But he is up 4 positions from where he started today's race, so it's going the right direction so far.
Yeah, I'd say this has been a good one for that 10 car. He's usually been at least around here, this 6th position or so, if not maybe slightly farther back. But for the most part, holding his own. Another one of the Swedish contingent out here competing. 156 laps into this 400-lap race. Not even to the halfway mark yet in this event.
And the tire fall off right now is still relatively early. The cars up front are doing 22 3s, 22 4s, which is actually very, very fast. It's only about 0.8 of a second off of their fastest lap times of the day. I'll have to go and see what the temperature has been doing. I expect it to get colder and colder and colder as the night goes on. So yeah, the track will continue to get faster. That's just going to continue to play with the strategy, is that if you undercut, is it going to be worth it with these cooler temperatures?
Consistent track temperature, still at 79, which is where it was about an hour or so ago. Hockenschut's now going to be the one to fight with Garen Batten that Henderson has gotten by. And it looks like Batten is going to be able to fend off maybe Hockenschut. He's certainly making a real tussle out of it, while Reeder thought maybe he could make it 3 wide, but couldn't get the power down in time off of turn 4. Now he'll try and get underneath the 101 instead. Just have a single car battle as he makes contact, getting loose off of turn 2.
Nice save, though, and hopefully doesn't drift too much up into the line of the 43, as he is now firmly to the outside. Another big wiggle from that target car. Another huge wiggle down the front straightaway, and contact going into turn number 1 between Golightly there and Reeder. So I think that these two are trying to move forward, and they're not afraid of showing a little bit of fender.
There's been some ghost contact. It looked like that fender deformed for a minute and then went back into shape. So thankfully, the internet gods have deemed that one okay in the end. Kenneth Reeder riding up high, trying to cut back down low, looking for the shot off the corner, but is too far behind the 101 to utilize that extra momentum, at least this time. Up in front of him, Hockenschut is unable to keep up with Garen Batten. Now, Batten, man, he's a whole second behind Blomqvist, who's already been overtaken by Henderson. Henderson's wasting no time trying to push his way back up where he started as we head farther back in the field here.
This is the 64 of Rob Courtney, who's actually a couple laps down, going by the 26 of Ernie Ludwig. It was not for position, but a little bit of action on the racetrack out here. I think that both of these cars have seen a little bit of issues earlier on, so they're just kind of chugging along, doing some laps as we check back up front.
Still 16 cars on the lead lap. Hogg will get our lucky dog if we get another yellow, and he is not involved in it. And speaking of which, Okay, that was a very dangerously close commentator's curse. Daniel Holmer getting sideways off of 4, gathers it up before the car causes a yellow.
I'm smiling over here because that was a great piece of car control. The 987 was fully spinning it off of turn number 4. I don't know if he locked it down or just had a handful of counter steer in it. But he is still on the racetrack, and he's still doing laps in 5th place. One heck of a save to keep it green.
Did you see Cedric in the background just now? He made a bit of contact, I think, with the 24, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to recall if that was a pass or if that was a defense. But let's see. We've got Daniel Holmer's save first. Watch this. Just going to get a little loose. Thought maybe he had more grip than was there. And you could, that shows you how close the start-finish line is to that exit.
Well, I was going to make that point, but look at how far into the straightaway that the car got loose. That shows you how much horsepower these cars have and how much the drivers actually have to pedal the car coming off of turn number 4 and turn number 2. That spin started, what, 20 yards shy of the start-finish line?
Yeah, it was much later than I was anticipating, that's for sure. And good on him for saving it. Meanwhile, Henderson really wants this spot over Holblum. But Cendric's having none of it. He's playing pretty good defense up to this point. He's going to leave the bottom side open, but that may be to his advantage. A little bit of a hello from Travis as he nearly gets the quarter panel.
Gotta be careful there. A little bit of contact, all right, but you don't want to move them because if you hit them in that quarter panel and there's some more side-to-side contact, although I'll call it a little bit more rubbing than actual contact. So the 10 definitely crowding the 24. Now the 24 just pushes Cedric right up the racetrack in 2.
We're getting to that stage of the race that I think patience has worn a bit more thin. And the American showing the Swedish driver that rubbing his racing here on these short tracks. Travis Henderson now up into 6th spot. He's got no more places to go to get back where he started this race. See if he can maybe crack into the top 5.
While I agree with you, Joe, short track racing brings out those emotions, and we might already be to that point in the race where people are starting to kind of move others out of the way. But I look at that lap count, and if you're a driver and you're already in that headspace, you need to take a cool down. You need to take a realization that you're not even halfway through this race yet, and you still got a long ways to go.
Talked about all the Swedish drivers that are out here, or at least Club Scandinavia drivers. We've got Cedric Holblum, Daniel Blomqvist, Daniel Holmer, Håkan Schutt is amongst them, Jesper Eriksson, Oscar Fredriksson. So yeah, they have kind of invaded on this one, but they have a very, very quippy little Japanese driver who is trying to disrupt their dominance and has now worked his way up into 3rd and is challenging Fredriksson.
It's pretty amusing to your point here is that we're racing the majors in the Atlantic division in Virginia at a short track, and it's all international at the front of the field.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I love about SimRacing is that it can bring this style of racing to other parts of the world, and they can show, you know what, yeah, we grew up with it here in America, but that doesn't mean we'll always have a stranglehold on it. And Togo Hisada has definitely shown that to us in the past. Now, what can he show to these regulars here in the majors?
To your point as well, I feel like elsewhere in the world, you can look at oval track racing and think, look at how boring it is. It's just left turns. I mean, you're just going around in a circle. What fun is that? But then you get the actual opportunity to hop in the sim in these cars and try it out, and you realize, well, holy smokes, this is actually a ton of fun. That's why there's so many of these racetracks. That's why there's so many of these oval racing cars. And you're right, it brings this type of racing to everywhere in the world and lets those drivers try it out.
Togo's been showing his nose. He likes that early entry as we've been riding on board, but he hasn't been able to get the overlap that he needs. This looks like this might be it, though. He's going to try and send it in down into turn 3. He's going to be given space by Fredriksson, who holds up to the middle line. But the pass isn't done. Both of them struggling with the car on the exit.
See Togo just ride the yellow line here, and the 955 gonna diamond it down. Actually, Togo lost the bottom of the racetrack just a little bit there in turn number 1. He drifted up towards the middle, so it was a good thing that Fredrickson was kind of a lane and a half up, gave Togo maybe just a little bit of a buffer. I'm sure that caught Togo by surprise, and now the 955 really crowding the middle of the racetrack down the front straightaway, I thought.
Togo's saying, I got fenders, I can bump and bang if you want. Just because I'm not used to it doesn't mean I'm afraid. And certainly the young driver displaying his ferocity for these Swedish drivers out here, and they'll come across the line again with the 6 car technically ahead. Just pass isn't fully done yet. When can he complete it?
You know, it's going to be a couple more laps. I understand the 955, you know, kind of crowding the front straightaway. I don't understand the 955 crowding the front straightaway when we're not even halfway through the race yet. It's just kind of asking for a little bit of caution, and now he kind of goes back up more towards the wall there as he's got a good run. But I just think if you're battling too wide, your teammates out front, you're doing a terrific job holding up the number 6 car, but don't put yourself in danger.
And for Oscar Fredrickson, he definitely doesn't need to put himself in danger. He's leading the points right now, and Garen Batten's not having the best day. So Oscar kind of needs to, I think, make the best of what he's got, and maybe hope for a stronger car at the finish. Because him trying to risk it with 200, nearly 20 laps to go seems almost silly.
And Togo Hisada just gave 2 big lifts to Fredrickson right there. If that doesn't show you, and then the 462. Oh, goodness, that was really close to an impact as well with Mark Redeker down the front straightaway. Now, Togo Hisada has been using the middle of the straightaway. He's been using the bottom line. However, it's when cars change lines on the straightaway, that's when things get convoluted.
I wonder if that was because he saw the lap traffic there and he didn't trust a 3-wide situation. Because as soon as they passed it, he put his nose right back in there and was on it again. But, I thought he was going to get chopped off. Woo, he touched the yellow line and had to save it.
I think it's just, it shows how smart Togo is. He deals with lap traffic on the weekly with the 49s, and there's a huge skill difference and lap time difference in those 49s. I think he saw that coming, and he politely backed out of that second place battle. And like you said, immediately entered it again once they got by that lap car.
We almost had a yellow. Cedric Holbloom nearly had a spin, and I think Garen Batten was involved in it. Not sure if we'll be able to pull it up, but that sent Cedric down to 12th. Batten still only hanging around 9th place, both carrying on.
See if Togo is... Actually, look at this. This is a curveball from the 6 car. He has yet to use the middle of the racetrack, and he's used it to his advantage to try to get the over-under. He goes back down to the low side where he's comfortable, but that was the first different line that I've seen the number 6 take.
Got a replay here. Wonder if this is the incident I spotted. Yeah, here we go. So the 101 of Hakenschut to his outside. And then behind him is Garen Batten in the teal and green car. Drifts up significantly. He thought he could cut underneath them, but timed it wrong. Tips him back forward politely, and both of them live to fight another day.
The 6 car is still trying to work on Oscar Fredrickson, and it's going to get busy because you see 2 cars right in front. Those are lap cars. That's the 64 of Rob Courtney. Togo, such a respectful driver. You see him move down completely to the bottom of the racetrack to leave room for 3 wide for Oscar Fredrickson. Still gets the pass done. Togo Hisada up into 2nd.
Took him a bit, but he made it happen. Now he's got to make up 3 seconds to catch up to Ericsson. Let's watch once we get some green flag laps here without a battle for Togo Hisada, who's been in the wars for so long. See if we can get a comparison to Jesper Ericsson, who's honestly just been on his lonesome for many, many laps now.
We already see it, Joe. 3 seconds is going to evaporate real fast. Ericsson, the last lap time, 23.18. Call it a 23.2. Togo Hisada, 22.8.
Impressive how fast he is. So how much of that is Jesper also managing things, and how much is he all out? Is he going to get a call from his teammate saying, hey, Togo just went by. You're going to have to pick it up if you want to hold track position. We're coming close to the halfway mark of this race. Checking to see when our last pit stops / caution laps were. 140. Yeah, we've been on a pretty long stint now. And there you go. Holbom is the next one in.
10 cars going to come right on down. It's so important not to slide through your box. Don't make it any worse for yourself, as Ernie Ludwig is up into 15th place as he goes by that number 10 that was on pit road there. So what was a 3-second gap out front between first and second, Joe, just a few laps ago, has already been chopped down to 2.2 seconds. Togo Hisada, 22.9 last time. Ericsson, 23.2.
For reference, Cedric, who was just outside the top 10 before the pit stop, is 16th now, but he's now 2 laps down. He was on the lead lap before. So yes, a pit stop under green can be extremely costly, and there's the caution right there.
We've seen this multiple times. Is this Wolf Dietrich Otto again in the number 32 car? I see him having a couple issues here on the back straightaway. But this is deja vu, right? This is, we see the green flag pit stop start, and then all of a sudden a yellow comes out.
Tell you what, Otto is lucky the car didn't go upside down on that one, because it started to lift up, actually. But it stayed planted in the end, and I think he had some help from Batten.
Yeah, I agree. He had help from Batten, but Otto was not clear coming up out of turn 2. We're going to see it on the replay once we get it all queued up here, but the 32 is 44 laps down and cleared himself up over the 61 who's run inside the top 10, and he wasn't clear.
So must have been on a bit fresher tires, I imagine. And yeah, he tried to come up to the racing line. And it was very close. It was very close, but yeah.
That angle makes it look a lot closer than what it actually was. I agree that he had the majority of the car in front of Garen Batten. But you still have to realize the overall big picture of the race, too.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, we got some takers in pit lane. But Jesper Eriksson not among them, if I'm seeing. No, he did stop. Looks like Ernie Ludwig gets the lucky dog.
I see most of them have come down pit road. I believe this is the second round of these cars, the lapped cars coming down in there. And,
yep, so everybody came in.
Yeah.
Ludwig got his lap back. Cedric Holbom did get a lap back because of that, but he's still 1 lap down. Now, actually, will he get waved around again? Because he's between the pace car and...
He should.
Oh.
He
okay, so he will be 1 lap down because he's ahead of our leader right now, so that's why he's showing 1 lap down right now. Sorry. My brain had to work it out.
Yes. But he should get the wave around the pace car and catch up to the back of the field. It won't put him a lap up, but he should at least be packed up.
Another reminder that if you're finding all this fun and interesting, there's even more majors for you with the Inside the Majors podcast available via Substack, as well as links available in the Majors series Discord. So join up either there or through Substack and check out all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff where they discuss the sort of the making of the sausage of this series.
Well, Joe, I think it's a lot prettier than making sausage. You know, these major series, they're always run to a T. They're always so fun to come out here and watch the competition. Sausage, a little bit more maybe disgusting behind the scenes of how it's made.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But, well, okay. And maybe the metaphor is the fact that not everybody cares about how the league gets run. But it's more than that, too. Is one thing I do love is they have all kinds of great human interest story where you get to know the drivers in this series.
I will give it to you that the short tracks and stock cars can be a little bit of a meat grinder.
I was just about to say, yeah, it's that's where that one comes in. Haven't had that as much today. It has in the past, and I'm very proud of the league and the drivers for how well they've been performing so far. Trust me when I say we've seen far, far worse at short tracks in the majors. Ericsson going to try and make it a good one. Ooh, that was a little wheel spin from Schmeier on that restart. That's going to allow Hisada to maybe try and take that second place away as they get going at just about exactly halfway.
Oh, and another big wiggle from Togo Asada coming up off of turn 2. So it shows you even the sticker tires, you got to bring them up to temperature and pressures a little bit. But now the 6 back on the racing line. Jeff Schmeier in that number 30 slides into 3rd place.
Said Jeff came off of his maiden victory at Daytona in a NASCAR race with the newer cars here in the majors. As his car gets a little sideways, Wallet still recovering from when he got sent back, having to take his spare car. Looks like he's going to get another position, move up to 7th with that one. But I think that new boost of confidence that Schmeier's had has changed him as a driver. We've seen him up towards the front more and more lately, especially on the NASCAR side.
Sometimes it's just a setup. Sometimes it's who you're practicing with. Sometimes just a light bulb goes off in your head and how you're driving, and you fix something and you become a lot more competitive. But he had a huge wiggle off of turn number 4 there as Henderson now ducks down to the inside, going to try to take away 4th place. Really good props to that number 24. Remember, we've seen him involved in a couple accidents, get that fast repair, been at the back of the field a few times, and he's at the front again.
That's going to give him 4th place if he can finish the job on Schmeier. Schmeier keeps his nose in to the outside just a bit here, but now he's got to give up the ghost as the 24 is clear, and he feeds up the lane on the exit of 2. Next on his list, Oscar Fredrickson. He's got Hisada up there and Ericsson. And Hisada trying to stay close to that number 37. Doesn't want him to get the distance we've seen in stints past.
I think if I was a crew chief for the number 6 car, I would tell him, don't change anything. Don't change what you've been doing all race long, because I feel like once you get to about lap 35, maybe lap 40, as Kenneth Reeder goes down to the inside of the 43 here, passing Mike Lightly. I was going to say, as you get to about lap 35, lap 40 of the tire stint, all of a sudden Togo Asada's driving style just picks up speed with the car, and he's way faster than anybody else on the track. You just got to get to that point.
This race has had more pucker moments than a bag of sour candy. This has been amazing. Kenneth Reeder with causing us to squirm up here in the booth with that catch off of turn 4. That'll cost him a spot to go lightly in the top 10.
And folks, we are past halfway. Look at that, lap 205 of 400. So it is the downhill swing in this race now. However, lots more racing to go. It's kind of time that you have taken all of the notes. Time to put them to test now.
Hopping on board with Hawken. And is that Wallet just in front of him? Yes, it is. So this is for the 7th position as they go back to single file. And it does look like, now that we have crossed that halfway point, this is about the most orderly we've seen it for some time. At least up here at the front, not really many battles happening. Everybody looks to be settling in.
I was just going to make that point because I covered that 658 that's right in front of us quite a bit, falling through the order, but he's definitely stabilized in the speed, and look at how stable the car is. Maybe a little bit of loose coming off before, and he's proven me wrong as he's in the wall. Wallet is going to lose another position to the 101. Hawkenschut's going to go down to the inside here. Battle it down the back straightaway, but I think this is going to be a losing battle for that 658.
It's not the first time we've seen Wallet, so he'll probably have a few more the way this track does it to cars plenty of times. But he'll slot in behind Hawkenschut and that 101 and try to regroup for later. Daniel Blomqvist, the one currently sitting behind him in what is a bit of a 3-car battle at this stage. Not missing anything up at the front as well, by the way. Hisada still about half a second behind Ericsson and keeping him in check. Oh, Wallach can try and fight back, though. He pokes his nose to the inside.
Haken leaves plenty of room for him down on the bottom of the racetrack, but just Jason couldn't keep it on that yellow line. See if anything happens here on this end of the racetrack. Nope, both all the way down on the low side. Maybe the 101 struggling to put the power down just a little bit, but so does the 658, maybe 50 yards after that. So I think that both those drivers kind of have a similar condition car.
Does look to be the case. Travis Henderson now. He made his way past Schmeier and has been riding behind Fredrickson. He's caught up to him mostly. It's a couple tenths apart still. Maybe about 2 or 3 car lengths between them. Can he do anything to get himself onto the podium and pass this 955?
I do think so. I think that out of all the cars we've been watching, the 6 stands out, the 24 stands out. Of course, the 37, the 955, and the 987, all of those teammates stand out as they've been at the front.
Caution.
Uh-oh. Lynn Kinchlow, the 44 car.
Haven't talked about him in some time. And he is on the lead lap, sort of, right now. He and Cedric seem to have gotten into it a bit. I'm not totally sure on what happened with this one.
This actually, Joe, it goes all the way back to, I believe, turn 1 and 2 on the previous lap, I think is where maybe a little bit of the bad blood and scraped knees actually start, and then the wreck actually happens a little bit further down.
Now let's hold on this replay until he gets the car turned around. He does a bit of a no-no afterwards. He's very lucky he didn't wind up like a few other cars. But there's where you're talking about, just getting into the side of him a little bit. They bang fenders. Maybe netcode puts them together, not sure, but it's like he tried to get it back to the racing line too late, and the car jerked around. Now, hold on, watch as he tries to return. And the 32, thankfully, was heads up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so anxious to get going, right? And the tires were hot, it's so easy to spin them. And I know Kinchlow didn't mean to spin it again and kind of park it in the racing line, but it is something you do have to worry about a little bit. I think what caught my eye, though, was more how the 10 and the 44 were repeatedly leaning on each other down the back straightaway, because they were leaning on each other a couple times, and then it was when the 44 went back to the racing line that he officially lost control.
Okay, so we go back under caution. Now, we don't expect many cars to pit. Kinchlow has. I imagine maybe to get a spare car if he still has it. No, he hasn't taken it, even on this one. And I see Ernie Ludwig also took a short pit stop. But otherwise, still have 16 cars on the lead lap. I think Sam Waitley is going to be getting his lap back. So he should be our lucky dog, unless that was given to another driver on this one. Could have been Ernie Ludwig on that, honestly. Jesper Eriksson still leading. Hasada still second. Fredrickson in third. But none of the leaders pitted, since we only had pit stops about 22 to 23 laps ago. This is going to be a little bit too early to try and do the same thing again. And the driver's going to try and hold on to those tires. Definitely don't really need to give up track position for fuel, at least at this point. .217 into 400 laps. We knew this race would be a long one, but like I said before, I'll reiterate, very impressed with the racing that we've seen out there. I think, double check with our director what count we're on. I think this is caution 6 or caution 7. Daniel may have lost count for me as well. Caution 8, I'm being told. So we're actually about on course to the 16 number that was thrown out. We all kind of gave our guesses before the race on what we thought. And Daniel, I think, said 17 initially, then said changed it to 16 the other way around. Can't remember which. And then, of course, I said 12. Joey predicted 10. So both of us maybe a little bit more optimistic, but you never know. As it gets later in the race, if more cars retire, then that could mean fewer chances for cautions out on track. So we are ready for the restart. Cars are double file. Hisada starting on that outside. Can he both protect that second place, maybe have a chance to attack on the 37 of Jesper Eriksson? Pace car peels in. Jesper waiting for it. He goes very early, though. Green flag is out, and his teammate must have been in communication. Look at the jump. The 955 is now tussling with the 6 for that P2, and I think Hisada has decided better to give it up for now and try and fight him later in the stint. Or maybe in the very next corner, tries to cut back. Looking for that second place almost immediately. Behind him, watch out for Travis Henderson. Travis now running in 4th place. Jeff Schmeier just behind him. Watching from on board, the Japanese driver. There on the high side, that's going to be Wallet. Up to 7th now. Great recovery from all 3 involved. Except for, well, where is Reeder? Kenneth Reeder down in 10th still, so he hasn't gained as many spots as the likes of Henderson and Schmeier. Or, excuse me, Wallet, rather. Togo Hisada now settling into that 3rd spot. Can't keep up with Oscar Fredriksson. Looking good on this start. And this is helping Eriksson in front of him put some distance back here with Blomqvist just at the end of the top 10. They're trying to take away Hawkenschut's number 8 spot down into turn 1. Couldn't quite get side by side with him. Got to watch out behind soon because the 41 of Kenneth Reeder is getting dangerously close. He's going to ride a lane up, and there you go. Like I was saying, Kenneth becoming a bit of an issue. Couldn't get the job done. Tries to maybe go for the high to low, squaring off of the exit of the corner. He gets momentum. I don't know if it's going to be enough. No, not a long enough straightaway with this being such a small track. They'll regroup. Try again later. Blomqvist going from attack to defense very quickly there. Behind them, they've got Tom Dreiling also on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap right now is Lynn Kinchlow. Well, I wonder if he's got a limping car and is maybe waiting and holding on till later in the race to take that spare car just to be safe. Classic target machine still behind Blomqvist, but Daniels already refocused forward. Hawkenschut has to defend slightly, holding him off. Down to the inside for the 41 down the back straight. Not sure if that was just a loose moment or whether he was trying to see if he could stick his nose in. Back up to Togo Hisada, though. Looks like he is not allowing at least Oscar Fredriksson to get away from. Eriksson up in front, gap up to about half a second. That's not too terribly far. But like we said, in the past, the 37 seems to like to sprint away early and then manage the pace from there. But now, with Togo Hisada here, who's been one of the fastest drivers we've been watching around track much of the night, is that changing? Is he unable to dash away as quickly as he was before? Jason Wallet alongside Kenneth Reeder down into 3 and 4. Kenneth on the low side. I think on the defense here, and we got a caution. Cedric Holbom in the 10, facing the wrong way. He's already had bad blood with another driver or two. And this time it was Sam Waitley, who was a lap down, who got into the back of him, it looks like, that caused this one. Single car incident besides the initial touch. There is Cedric. So he'll slip back to 16th because of getting turned. So the pace car picks up the field. Let's take a look at this one. I'm not sure why he was getting that close up behind him. Yeah, look at it, he's right up on him. Cedric did have a few problems. And then midway through the corner, just Gives him the chrome horn, and that turns the 10 around. Didn't hear, I think there was just a bit of chatter between them, but didn't hear what Sam said over the radio. Ooh, Jeff Schmeier pitting. And one of the few Dreiling pits. Garen Batten pits. Ernie Ludwig. Lynn Kinchlow, not as big of a surprise as he was farther down on the lead lap, so he's got little to lose there. But we're seeing for the first time a more evenly split strategy on the high end of the field. So let's see who comes out first amongst the stoppers this time. We've got 11 cars, if I'm seeing this correctly, who did not stop. Tom Dreiling's going to be the first out. Maybe taking 2 tires. Let me see if he just topped up, though. He may have only topped up. Checking my replay. Yeah, fuel only for Tom Dreiling, whereas Jeff Schmeier is the first car on 4 tires. Nobody took 2 on that one. The 30 is now the best on his strategy, if you will.
A couple different tire strategies I'm seeing being played out here, and thanks for covering for me while I was going and making a little bit of coffee over here, Joe, and we'll get fired back up with Ericsson, the number 37 car. Still our leaders. We've got the lights on the safety vehicle. Oscar Fredrickson in the 955, sitting in second. That's that teammate car. Togo Asada in third. Travis Henderson fourth, with Daniel Homer sitting here in 5th place. Give you a run through the lead lap cars, as Hakan Schutt in the 101 is in 6th. Daniel Blomqvist 7th. Jason Wallet in 8th. Kenneth Reeder in that 41 car sitting in 9th. Michael Lightly in 10th place, as well as Tom Dreiling in 11th. Jeff Schmeier 12th. Garen Batten 13th. Ernie Ludwig 14th. Lynn Kinchlow in 15th spot. And I believe Cedric Holbom is the last car on the lead lap, currently in 16th place. Just going to patiently wait as we'll get lined up single file here, with approximately just under 170 laps remaining. We are past halfway here, so got the majority of the cars still on the lead lap. We started with 24. I am seeing 22 still running, only 2 retirements so far, and that includes the number 7 car, James Dean, on lap number 136, as well as Craig Hawkins in that number 4 car, retired on lap 116. We'll see if either one of them comes back. I think James Dean officially retired from the race as we get prepared for the restart. Going to be the 2 teammates up front. 37 down low, that's Ericsson, and then you got Fredrickson. Oscar Fredrickson is in the 955 car. That's his team car lined up top. The 6 is Togo Asada with the 24 of Henderson. We've seen this lead car get a huge jump on the bottom line, and that's exactly what we see out of Ericsson. A great hole shot. His teammate actually gets a great restart as well. He's going to leave the low lane open for Togo Asada at the entry, and then really close the door on exit. But it's the front 3 that are single file, and then Henderson fighting off what is Daniel Homer for that 4th place position. You see Henderson now get to the bottom side of the racetrack, so call it the top 5, top 6. Single file now as we work down through turn 1 and turn number 2. Farther back in the pack, you can see lots of cars spread out as we've got another yellow flag. I believe the number 44 of Lynn Kinchlow involved in this one again. You see him down on the apron here, I believe in turns number 1 and 2. And we've got some drama on the racetrack, because the number 10 just went straight into the back of the number 44 repeatedly on this one, and spun Lynn Kinchlow around. And if I remember correctly, it was a few yellows ago that the number 10 and the number 44 were door banging each other going down the back straightaway. I wonder if that kind of fed into this incident. Get the replays queued up here. Daniel always doing such a fantastic job. So watch the 10 car. You got Lynn Kinchlow right in front of him. We're going to meet his fuel cell. Boom. And that was actually the second or third hit that we finally saw that turned him around. Maybe the 44 was a little bit slow going into turn number 1, but just drawing back on memory what happened only a handful of laps ago, I got to think that kind of added to the situation.
Yeah, that definitely has the feeling, if that was 3 or 4 hits, that may have been intentional, trying to get him out of the way. Unfortunately, it took himself out a little bit in the process, too, so they're going to get a talking to if they are getting up to those shenanigans. I know the one thing this series prides itself in is clean and fair driving. So, yes, they want everybody to get the short track experience, but they want everybody to also get a fair shake at things.
Well, we are on caution number 10 currently with 163 laps to go. I think we're seeing the back half of the field here, these cars that are a lap down or maybe have a little bit of cosmetic damage come down and get their full tank of fuel, maybe have their pit crew hop over the wall, pound out some of those fenders, get that car cleaned up a little bit more up to its optimal pace.
So looking through, among our leaders, there is only 2 cars that I can see in the top 10 that have used up their spare car. One is Travis Henderson, and the other is Kenneth Reeder. Beyond that, you have a number of drivers farther down in the field who have used that spare car. But it's been, I mean, I feel like it's a bit of a telling stat that so many at the front have managed to avoid having to use that, because we've seen it is possible to get back up there, but it seems like not putting yourself in that dangerous position in the first place and making those risky moves is paying off pretty well for the top runners.
And to that point, Travis Henderson, who has used one of those fast repairs that you just mentioned, he's back up inside the top 4. So theoretically, by your kind of thought process there, he should stay out of the majority of trouble that's been happening on the racetrack. So props on him to get that car back into a competitive position and really out of the mid-pack scrum.
Back up to 17 drivers on the lead lap for the first time, and I have no idea how many laps. We've been stuck at 16 for a long time. And now it's just Rob Courtney 2 laps down. Could still get himself back on the lead lap. Going to be a little harder for Hogg, who's 3 laps down behind him, and then Mark Redeker 5 laps down, unfortunately. And let's hope that we don't get that many cautions that they could feed back around. Still 161 laps to go, though, and there is lots of racing to be had. Drivers have to be in this for the long haul here at Richmond. And Togo Hisada last time got mugged by the 2 working Swedish drivers, the teammates, trying to make sure and shut him out. Can he try and bring something to them and take that second place back away? Green flag is out, and the 955 is not completely clear. We're looking back from the leader. The 6 gets himself underneath. This is where he likes to be.
And he's all the way down. He hugs that yellow line. An excellent turn 1 and 2 for Togo Hisada. Let's see if Fredrickson can hang tough on 3 and 4. Usually the high line much better on this end of the racetrack, and you see neck and neck as they cross the start-finish line.
It's been the secret weapon of the 6 all night, that bottom line where nobody else seems to be able to use it to pass. Everybody has to go halfway up to the middle lane, and you can see he's got a nose ahead this time on the way into 3. It is working.
Yeah, but 4 is just such a high line corner there. He falls back to the quarter panel. Now he's going to advance himself all the way up to the door, maybe even get a fender on the 955 there. It's just inches that you have to chip away each corner and then minimize this end of the racetrack with your time loss.
Coming around to complete yet another lap. Oh, now it's starting to fall away from him. He's going to slot back in line. He'll accept the 3rd place for now. Behind them, Holmer and Henderson had their own little tussle to decide 4th and nearly came together off of turn 2 at one point, but thankfully they avoided that catastrophe. Lundqvist up to 6. Don't remember seeing him that high a little earlier. Garen Batten, though, our pole sitter, still mired in 11th spot. He's surrounded by a couple cars. He's got Tom Dreiling in there, along with Hakan Schutz and then Kenneth Reeder in front of him.
Definitely just right in the middle of the pack right now, and it is a busy pack. You got to keep the car nice and clean. Remember, 156 laps to go, so you need to keep it on the racetrack to be collecting the valuable points here in this Majors Championship.
Still running 2x2 through the corner, except it's changing hands a little bit now. They've got, might go lightly down on the bottom side there behind, kind of plugged up and with no place to go. Batten tries to go even higher up the track, almost works out, but things getting tight between a couple of the drivers. Kenneth Reeder nearly making contact with Hakan Schutz. This time they give each other a little bit more space. High line given to Garen Batten. Gets the run off the corner, easily breezes past the 41.
Yeah, you see the 41, kind of the typical characteristic of that car all night is loose off. He's just can't put the power down. And at Richmond here, you need to be able to move forward. When you have that wheel spin, the car isn't driving forward like you want it to. And that's really just kind of been the Achilles heel for that 41.
Jeff Schmeier suddenly going on the attack. Travis Henderson just in front of him is doing his best to hold on tight. He's got that desired line on the outside. Can Jeff make this one stick Togo Hisada style? He's going to be able to get ahead, maybe a little too high up the lane there for the 24.
If you get up out of that racing groove, you can find yourself in that, call it the dirty stuff, where all the rubber's been piling up and you just can't get the car turned quite as nicely. And so, all right, Schmeier up into 5th place, move Henderson back into 6th. It could just be a little bit of a regrouping, though. See if the 24 just kind of needs to mentally reset himself, is what I like to call it. Just take a deep breath and get back going again.
Back to Togo Hisada. He's now trying to see if he can fight Fredrickson, who's going to cover the inside lane. This might be a clever move. Deny the driver where they want to be, force them into an uncomfortable position. He brakes very late, though, and this actually holds him up to his high side. Daniel Holmer tries to get involved, but no dice.
You're right. I think that if Fredrickson plays too many games, as now Holmer really pushes the issue on Togo Hisada. You saw Togo move to the middle, kind of the low side of the racetrack, kind of try to dissuade Daniel Holmer from making that move. And now another big lunge at his bumper, and he turns Togo Hisada. Look at the car control from that number 6. He's still on the racing line. How did he save that thing?
I mean, how many times have we seen Tokyo drift out of him in the 49s? I think this is just to be expected out of that number 6 car. Meanwhile, behind them, things getting close between Henderson and Holbom as they'll fight for 6th position. They lost a lot of time. They maybe lost a little bit of tire, but they did not lose the car.
I mean, save of the race right there for Togo Hisada. You're right. He always puts car control on full display. And now we got the 10 and the 24 round. Henderson's going to keep it off of the wall, but the 10, who's been involved with a lot lately, finds himself turned around again.
So Henderson, I think, made a little contact at the back of the 10, who has been in the wars today. Here's the initial slide from Togo Hisada. Yeah, I mean, that looks like a full 45 degrees. He has that thing cocked.
Yeah, I mean, he took a straight shot from the 987 in turn 3 and lifted the whole back end of the car up and just put a whole ton of counter steer into it and was able to save it. And Joe, you were 100% right on this incident between the 10 and the 24. You know, I thought maybe the 10 has been involved in a lot and just kind of involved himself again, but it was not his fault at all. The 24 definitely got into the back of the 10 car.
Yeah, my mind immediately went to, it's the 10. He's kind of been aggressive, let's say, during some of this race with some of his moments.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where it started a little bit, didn't it?
Okay, so maybe the 24 was the aggressor on this one, except he also spun himself, and Gary Batten, did he get away with that? Because I think he made a slight bit of contact with the 24. Saw him in the corner of the screen.
Yeah, and he did get to go over under through that wreck there, so if there was anything, I expect it to be pretty minimal. I'm going to go back and take a look at it myself as some of these cars hit pit road. And you're right, it does have a little bit of nose contact, but I don't see any visual damage on the front end of the 61.
And we got more of that split strategy. A few more cars coming in now. Actually, is this... Oh, this might be all of the drivers that didn't pit before, and I think it indeed is, other than Travis Henderson, who has stayed out in 63-lap-old tires. That's going to give him 5th place. Now, he is around Schmeier, Batten, Golightly, Wallet, and Kinchlow, who all have 20-plus laps on their tires. But he's only 2 cars away, well, 1 car separating himself and Jesper Eriksson, who is now on fresh tires behind them.
I can't help but to think it's a strategy play by the 24. We're going to get a replay here. So you see the 61. You see everything happening in front, and it's going to go over under here, but just barely makes nose contact damage with the 24 right there. Then on the back straightaway, I don't see any significant damage on the bodywork, so I think he's okay.
That's when your heart rate goes through the roof, and you wonder how you survived that one. Because of the pit stops, this puts Batten into 2nd. Schmeier's going to be your new leader, but again, these 2 drivers on older tires. In fact, they've got 7 laps over those behind them. Golightly, Wallet, and Kinchlow, although, as I mentioned, Henderson on 64 laps now on his tires. So how much of a difference is this going to make? That is the big question, because it didn't seem like those that stayed out got all that caught up by those that came in before and did the split strategy right about the time that you had taken your little break there, Joey.
I think we're also getting ahead of ourselves and saying, all right, well, what's the pace going to be between these different sets of tires? Because first, they got to launch on the restart, right? Because 65-lap-old tires on these cars are going to be very difficult to get going, let alone 29-lap-old tires that's across the front row up here. So it's not just rolling onto the throttle, but also the upshifts down the straightaway.
And trying to warm up his tires. He clearly doesn't think that they're ready to go. They're wiggling back and forth in that 44. Let's send up a prayer. Green flag is out, and it's good. We got drivers all taken off without any major wheel spin that I can see. But what's it going to look like now that we get up to pace?
24 stays on the bottom of the racetrack. Expect the 37 here to push the issue. He's actually going to go to the top side. That is a very smart move. This way, we've got a yellow flag already. Maybe the 26 involved. I saw he was pretty slow on the racetrack at one point, but under our 12th yellow flag of the day.
That was Ludwig. Maybe tires just a little bit too cold because he spun right off of turn 2 on his own. He is carrying on, but he's definitely the cause of this yellow. This is... well, that's good news to see that tires, even at that age, should be able to handle the restart. We don't know... Well, I guess we do know about massively older ones, at least if you're Travis Henderson, because I didn't see him have any problems get going.
Now, I'm going to make a little bit of a joke, and I hope Cedric Holboom watches this broadcast, but you see that the 10 is involved again, and he's nowhere near this, but he's just a magnet to these incidents. Look, he's nowhere near the 26 as the 26 spins down to the inside, but the 10 was right there again.
I mean, he's our Swedish chef of the night. He's in the midst of all the mess constantly, so we'll see if he can clean things up, at least be away from some of the mess for a bit, because it sure seems to find him even when he is driving well and minding his own business. Michael Hogg now going 1 lap down the 744.
Means he will be available for a lucky dog if the opportunity arises. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more green flag action on the racetrack, but I think we're actually setting up just to repeat what we just had in that restart, because the top 5 cars are all on the old tires. Ericsson in that number 37 in 6th place. He is the first car on the newest tires, and that's really kind of where all those new tires come in. But 5 cars on pretty old stuff.
So second chorus, same lyrics. Let's see if it sounds the same when they get that green flag. We're on caution number 12 for this one. They're starting to pick up a little bit, and we do sometimes see this in these oval races in the majors. We can have a pretty clean race, and then it gets to the end, and unfortunately everybody gets maybe a bit too anxious. And frankly, if that is the case, I think this is far too early for them to get this kind of antsy in their seats.
Yeah, I call it antsy in the pantsy is what I call it. And the drivers, they just kind of get the red mist that comes over them. And let's kind of envision it, right? If you've never driven a short track, if you've never been in the sim, you don't know how to kind of relate to these drivers. And if you're sitting next to your classmate in the same class all day long, and one of them just kind of keeps annoying you, let's just say he keeps kind of poking you in the ribs from the back of the seat, you're going to get annoyed with that eventually. And he's there all day. He's there all race long. Eventually, you're going to get frustrated and maybe turn around and poke him back. And that's the best way I can relate to it is you've been stuck with the same group all day long. They've been annoying the heck out of you, or they've been treating you very nicely. And it just depends on what side of the fence you're on.
And wouldn't you know it, that's the time that the teacher actually notices when you poke back, isn't it? As we'll see whether or not they can avoid any sort of ire from those in charge on this one after the race. But they'll go double file and restart. Jeff Schmeier, once again, going to have the top spot. Batten lost second on that restart. Go Lightly will now be on the outside next to him. Go Lightly in one of our first cautions, I believe, out here. A very early one. As we wait for the call, pace car heading in. Who gets on the throttle and when? Looks like Schmeier is going to start them just as the restart zone opens up. Green flag is out. Looking to the inside. Batten wants that P2 right back. Look at Wallet, though, round the outside.
Yeah, and the 37's going to take advantage. Remember, the 37's on the freshest tire, so he's going to follow Jason Wallet up around the top side there. I expect Ericsson to be now moving to the inside down this front straightaway. The 24 is actually impressing me. He is on those 73-lap old tires, and he's still hanging in it.
Still side-by-side racing. Henderson hard into the wall. There's the limit of those tires as he drops many places now.
Yeah, and he got a little bit of a hip check from Kinchlow going into turn 3 as well. I am so sorry, Travis Henderson, for the commentator's curse.
Well, it ain't over. He could still be in it, and look who he's just fallen behind. That's the 6 of Toga Hisada, one of the drivers on fresher tires. He's up to P9 as we get a caution. There's a wreck in front of him. That's one of our Swedish drivers, Jesper Eriksson.
That has been the car that has been leading. Oh my, and Henderson's on his roof. This is a second incident, or maybe they tried to avoid it on the back straightaway because this is all in turns 3 and 4, these cars.
I think you may be right. Oh, they did get clipped a little bit. And I think it collected Tom Dreiling. It looks like Hakan Schütz also. Wow.
I tell you what, how fast that 24 has been today, if he didn't have bad luck, he would have no luck at all.
And he's used his spare car, so I don't know what kind of shape it's in. Hopefully it's repairable and it can keep the speed up. So you can see the initial accident. He just gets clipped. And yeah, he gets clipped by the car that's spinning. The 41 gets hit, I think, by the 101. And the 101 coming back up, unfortunately, puts the nail in the coffin.
And I'll give credit to Henderson. I've said that there's been a lot of guys that have just driven into the yellows. He had no view of this 37 spinning around in front of him. He had cars in front. He had cars dodging out of the way at the very last minute, and that 37 just appeared in his windshield. So a really tough break for a lot of these drivers. And the reason why I'm talking about this 24, I really felt like he had a shot to win today's race. He just always struggled with track position.
So here's Cedric. Oh no, what did Cedric get into? Did he avoid it? Did he have a lucky save here? He watches it happening in front of him. Wow.
There's the perfect view.
Oh. And even saves it from a slide as he hits the banking awkwardly. Wow.
You guys can't see it, but I was fist pumping over here, keeping it off of the wall for Holboom. Yeah, that was a great job. He got on the brakes. Definitely the right thing to do and avoided. It wasn't just one car. I think it was, what, about 4 or 5 cars that he avoided right there?
So this whole thing starts with the 37 of Ericsson. He's going to make contact with Go Lightly. And that sends the 37 into the wall when he gets hooked. And unfortunately, you've seen the rest of it where cars are scattering and just clip one another. And unfortunately, this backstretch is so narrow, it's hard to stay out of these wrecks if they happen either at the front or in the thick of the field.
This is the good view, is Golightly all the way towards the wall. So I'm not going to put that on Golightly, but I understand why the 37 got spun. I think the 37 of Ericsson was expecting Mike Golightly to go all the way track up towards the wall on the back straightaway, and there was probably maybe half a car width, 3/4 of a car width that he left up there, and I think that was the overlap difference.
I kind of feel like one of the biggest wrecks I think we've had tonight. Caution number 13 for those keeping track with us. But that Cheerios car still made it through. That'll put him up back into 8th. But we're still waiting on Wallet, Golightly, Batten to take pit stops. Schmeier still needs one. In fact, Schmeier and Batten are on 42-lap-old tires. Now, we've had a spate of cautions, so they've been able to save a good chunk of those tires here recently, but they're going to get long in the tooth soon.
See how Togo Hisada is going to handle all of this, because we've highlighted him probably more than any other driver here tonight, and he's kind of stuck back there. He's in 8th place right now. He's back with the cars that have new tires, but he's been towards the front ever since, what, about lap 50 or 60 or so? He's going to have to be careful here.
Highest car on the newest tires is going to be Oscar Fredrickson in 9:55. As the green flag is out, he's restarting in 4th, while Jeff Schmeier leads the pack down into turn 1. I expect the 9:55 to be quick now that Jesper is no longer a part of the equation, his teammate out of it.
You see oh, we've got another yellow flag immediately. I believe the number 10 is involved as well. Sometimes you got to spay and neuter your yellows because they will reproduce.
He's going to get involved with the 26 on this one of Ernie Ludwig. And I think that was Cedric on the lead lap? Yeah, so that was for position between them.
And Joe, I just went back and looked at this. Is almost identical from what we saw out of the 37 and Mike Golightly going down the back straightaway. I just think that the 10 was expecting maybe the car to his outside to go all the way to the wall, but he doesn't. I think that these drivers are maybe leaving a little bit of buffer room because the rear tires are sliding around so much that they're not actually tracking it all the way out to the wall while the inside cars are expecting it.
Here's the replay. And I'm with you. I think Cedric, just thought that car was going to be about half a foot higher and kind of banged into the side of him. Oh, thought that that next car was going to avoid the accident. Trying to figure out who that was.
Is that the 744? Looked like the black and red 744.
Yeah, that was Michael
Hogg, maybe. Yeah.
Good call.
But back to my point, these cars are very difficult to drive. How many times have we talked about it, right? It's difficult with the high horsepower. They're heavy cars. They're very, very small tires, and they're 20-plus years old, really 50-plus years old when you look at the kind of the suspension geometry underneath it. So we've discussed this. It's difficult to drive. The cars are maybe now leaving a little bit more wiggle room because they don't want to use up the wall. They don't want to damage the car, and there's just a little bit of overlap that these cars are not expecting, and we've seen 2 yellows because of it.
Schmeier still leads. Let me see here. Double check his stats. Yeah, he's got his Daytona 500 win, which he is, I think. Oh wait, no, that's not his banner that I just saw. Oh, maybe it is. Okay, so yeah, he's. I got his Daytona 500 win displayed on his stats banner because I think you can customize that. But he's got 9 top 5s and 81 starts in the Majors series. So he's been finishing up there. That's actually not too bad of a strike rate considering how difficult it is to get up to the sharp end of the fields in this series. But let's see if he can make it number 2 this season.
What I'm curious about, Joe, and maybe you can check because I don't have it on my timing and scoring, is if the number 37 car has officially used that fast repair, because I see them on 8-lap old tires on a completely clean car, and that's Jesper Eriksson, who's led pretty much all of today's race that we've seen. And if he's got a new car and new tires, I'd expect him to be very fast.
He has indeed used his get-out-of-jail-free card. So he is on a fresh car. It is on the lead lap. So reports of his demise were sadly premature. And, well, not sadly. Hopefully he can get back into it. For the other drivers, it's probably sadly, because Jesper, once he gets clear air, is hard to catch. But this is going to be one of the few times we've seen him in the middle of the pack. Jason Wallet, though, will be the one restarting on 2nd position this time. And then Oscar Fredrickson going to try and restart from 3rd, see if he can deny Wallet that 2nd place and keep his nose down to the inside. Pace car going to peel in. Jeff has control of the fields, and Jeff gets on the loud pedal. Green flag is out. It's a pretty decent start for Wallet, and I don't think Fredrickson is close enough to try and challenge him.
No, it's going to be the 955 going to sneak. Oh, but he gets way loose coming off of turn number 2. So that completely stalls out the run that he had on the 658 there right in front of him. Schmeier will lead this lap coming off of the restart. Wallet in 2nd place with Fredrickson in 3rd.
Olboom coming down into pit lane. That's interesting. Now, there's no incident limit here, so he's not got a black flag. That I can... Oh, no, he does have a black flag. I wonder if he jumped the starts.
That could be very possible, and depending... He was kind of far back in terms of the border, so, yeah, that's certainly a possibility there.
Interesting. So, didn't expect to see a whole lot of those in this race. Oscar Fredrickson making up for his start, not allowing him to get the overlap he needed. Goes on the attack now that he's gotten underneath Jason Wallet. Doesn't finish it in one attempt. He'll have to give it another try here into 1 and 2.
I think the fresher tires should prevail, so Fredrickson, don't push the issue too much, right? You're going to have the overall grip to make this pass, so just be patient, make it nice and easy. Don't burn off too much of your tire, because the more you battle next to Jason Wallet here, the more he's burning off his tire as well. And I can tell you, he's got 47 laps, double the amount of laps that the Fredrickson's got, so just keep chipping away.
Let's see how tough it is to try and get that throttle down. He was so far alongside him, and then the car just would not accept it. So he'll try again. He's hanging tough. He'll lose that ground each and every time off the corner until he finds that sweet spot. This might be it. Look at that, coming off the turn. There it is. He's fully alongside with the nose slightly ahead. Brakes earlier down into 3 and 4. He'll fight him for it. He's just got to do that maybe one more time.
Yeah, the high line is king off of turn number 4, but the low line is where you want to be going into turn number 1. So I think the 955 really trying to diamond it, almost replicate the line in turn number 1 that the 658 was going to be running. I think he needs to do it right here, kind of get up to the door, take the middle groove in 3 and 4 to prevent this momentum run on the high side.
He's definitely being pretty polite, leaving as much space as he is. Oh, did they have a little touch there as Oscar finally gets that spot and almost looked like maybe Jason brushed the outside.
Oh, and things are busy behind. Togo Asada into the back of the 987. Now he gets spun around himself. I can tell you the 987 got hugely checked up. I think that he might have even made contact with the car in front of him, had to collect the car, and Togo Hisada was already sitting in the back seat.
Yeah, that 987 was starting to slide just the tiniest bit, and that was checking him up. And it was because of the checkup in front of him, too, that you had mentioned. Travis Henderson getting back out there. He's still on the lead lap, which is impressive for a car that rolled over and didn't have a spare car left. Somehow has gotten it repaired and is carrying on. In fact, going to wisely use this time to get more repairs done.
So watch this happen. It's going to be the white and orange car. It's going to chop the nose of the 987, making a move. The 987, you can't see, but he's sliding after he gets the nose chopped. So he's not moving forward while all the rest of the cars are not sliding. And Togo Hisada was all the way on the brakes. But, I mean, he just hit right into the back. He had nowhere to go.
So Michael Hogg also getting some repairs. I think these are a number of drivers that only can repair the car from here and are just doing their best. What they're trying to do is make up as many points as they can, or often, especially in these longer races in the majors, it's simply a point of pride to try and make it to the finish on this one and take the checkered flag. So still Jeff Schmeier, your leader. Fredrickson up to second now that he's gotten by Wallet. And Go Lightly is sitting in fourth with Jesper Eriksson already into the top 5.
It looks like all these lead lap cars, or maybe not the lead lap cars. I'm sorry, I was watching the number 6 car because he's in pit lane right now, and I think that he's actually saving his fast repair because I see the car kind of taking some new tires. Maybe if he had any damage, get it fixed up, but for sure, probably put some new tires on, I saw.
Hisada returns. He managed to stay on the lead lap. Didn't get too hard, it looked like. I think he got away pretty lucky.
And it's the short course, right? I wouldn't worry too much about the body damage as long as the car is driving okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, plenty of those drivers are just cycling around, getting more repairs in what little time they have, getting back out, trying not to go a lap down. That's really the key here, is staying on that lead lap. Because yes, you can get it back, but why make life more difficult for yourself? Almost to the final quarter of this one.
I am very impressed that the 24 car is still on the lead lap. Remember, he was on his roof. He's already on his spare car. He's still chugging along.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't really pay attention because I thought, well, you know, there's no way he's getting that repaired quickly enough to get back out on the lead lap. I don't know if maybe he got a lucky dog somewhere, but he's definitely been taking it. Let's see, last one was about 25 seconds. So 25-second increments of getting the sledgehammers and duct tape out and then zipping back around as quickly as you can.
That's exactly what he's doing every single time he hits pit road. He just leaves right before the pace car comes and catches him. So that's the idea. It's the peloton, right? Catch up to the group, pit, get it fixed, catch up to the group real fast.
He's cycling back around now, just as they're getting ready to restart. We're back down to about 15 cars on the lead lap. Michael Hogg is the last of those currently. Pace car releases Jeff Schmeier. Fredrickson to his outside. Green flag is out. Looked like Fredrickson struggled that time, and Wallet is actually going to steal the second place right back from him. But now he's going to have to deal with the Swedish duo because Fredrickson's Jesper Eriksson teammate is with him.
And I think that 37 is by far the fastest car. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He is just going to stay patient because he's got the best tires out of that entire bunch. So let your teammate work on Jason Wallet right in front of you. Let him be the hammer and then follow your way through. Uh-oh.
More caution. And we may have just had another one where a driver got sideways enough. I think it was, yeah. And we didn't get his full spin. This is going to be Mike Golightly in the 43 for this one.
go back.
Granted, this was probably a good call because this would have been a major wreck if everybody wasn't immediately alerted to the spinning car.
Yes, and I think the reason we're going to see it right here that we got the yellow flag is look at how many cars are behind it, right? You've got directly behind you so many cars coming up. There's the contact from, I believe it was the 988 of Blomqvist, and then Golightly manages to kind of frogger his way through down to the apron.
And watching that replay really kind of illustrates the dangers of going 3 wide. It's become so much more common these days in NASCAR racing. But he came down across, he had the one car, didn't realize there was a second car, and chopped to the very bottom of the racetrack, and that's what started that spin.
Here's Travis Henderson. Going to come down, get about 25 seconds worth of repairs on that DuPont 24. Mike Golightly following him in, I believe that's the 43 there, stopped as well. So they're just going to come in, get that thing fixed up, get more fuel in the tank, and keep chugging along doing laps.
So our official retirements right now are James Dean, Kenneth Reeder, and Wolf Dietrich Hotto. Travis Henderson actually has a black flag. I wonder if he sped in pit lane. Or maybe he came into a closed pit and he'll just be given an end of line here. Not sure which it is.
Well, like you said, we are working yellow number 15. Jeff Schmeier, I think, has been doing a fantastic job at the front because it was all that Fredrickson, Ericsson battle up there that has been just kind of dominating the front 2, front 3 spots. But the number 30 is on 67 lap old tires, and he's been hanging tough.
Those 81 starts I mentioned for Schmeier might not sound like a lot, especially in sim racing terms, but remember, this series is mostly once a month and has been that way since its entire existence. So for him to rack up 81 starts, he's been around a long time in this series. And since then, I've watched him go from kind of a mid-packer here in the top split, which is still an achievement, to now look at this, fighting for these wins, fighting for top 10s. And he's trying to prove himself, I think, is Jeff Schmeier. But he's going to have a difficult time now that Fredrickson and Ericsson are able to work together a little bit once again, especially now that they're up towards the front. If one of them gets the lead and the other is either in second or third, then you know, like we saw before, they're going to be communicating on these restarts.
I'm going to add to that point about Jeff Schmeier a little bit. Not only, the multiple starts, I shouldn't say multiple starts. How many did you say? 81 starts for that number 30 car, Jeff Schmeier, right? But he's also, he's established himself at the front of the field, call it the last, 20, 30% of this race. So if you're at the front, you're recognizing the number 30, you realize how he drives, and you're expecting him there. And in my opinion, as a racer, that's much bigger than any finish you can ever ask for, is to be at the front and be one of those guys.
Sure, he feels proud of what he's achieved, and it's been a lot of hard work, no doubt. But we're seeing the arrival of Jeff Schmeier in 2024. Question is, can he keep it up? Because he's third in the points right now, and he's still got a shot at the championship. And that would probably mean even more, because that is even rarer air if you can reach that. Meanwhile, green flag is out, and Jeff gets a good launch, as Fredrickson is going to try and stay ahead of Jason Wallet, who has been rivaling him for that second place for a long time now on these consistent restarts. You could see the slide from the 955 on the high side.
And the 37, his teammate, is going to follow him through on the top side. We've seen that high line work so well off of turn number 4. So it's the 658 of Jason Wallet now is going to have to defend what is third place, almost a little bit of 3 wide as he gets the nose in on Fredrickson up there. That was a pretty close moment.
Using what you were talking about, pinching him down, and Wallet could do nothing to try and hold them back from there. Ericsson and Fredrickson both sneaking by. Up ahead of them is now Jeff Schmeier.
I think that the time clock is kind of ticking away for that number 30 at the front of the field. He's got 72 laps on his tires. Fredrickson in second place, 46 laps. Ericsson in third, only 32 laps.
Cross the line once again. And behind them, don't forget about Togo Hisada, who is up to 7th place. In fact, he's looking like he's got a good run there on Blomqvist. Up to his high side. Blomqvist going to give him space. I believe it was Daniel that maybe touched the back of him and turned him around even. And the craziness.
I think the one thing we got to draw back on with this number 6 car, it only took him about 50 or 60 laps to go from dead last in 24th all the way up inside, call it the top 3, top 4 up there. And with 97 laps to go, he's sitting in 6th place with 2 cars directly in front of him for position. I would not consider Togo Hisada out of this thing yet. His steepest climb, though, is going to be catching Fredrickson and Ericsson up front.
Oh, and Jeff Schmeier overtaken by Oscar Fredrickson. Jesper trying to sneak through as well. The pace is there, and they've got it done. So Jeff Schmeier slots back into 3rd now. Don't think he's got the pace the way they caught and passed him so easily. So can he at least hold on to them and keep them honest? As behind him, Togo Hisada's already moved up into 4th. My goodness.
He definitely got a few positions right there. I didn't see exactly how he moved up, and then you couple that with Schmeier getting into the wall on the back straightaway there. I don't know if you saw that, but he just kind of got sucked up into the wall, so he lost a ton of momentum. I expect Togo Hisada, who's only on lap 17 of his tires, to drive right around the 30.
You know what? Dreiling and Wallet, I think, were just battling so much that they'd forgotten that Togo was there. He snuck inside of them and took them both in practically one go. So yeah, it was very savvy driving by the 6 car as we watch Jason Wallet now still fighting with Lynn Kinchlow in the 44.
Good recovery from Kinchlow. He's been involved in a couple little skirmishes. He slides up into the middle of the track there. There goes Garen Batten. He's going to try to grab 2 in the span of 1 corner. Now he's going to get to the inside of Kinch in the 44 there. We've seen the low line work really good in 1 and 2, but the 44 is able to hang tough for now.
So Batten still fighting Lynn with Wallet on the outside of Hockenschut down on the bottom there. 92 laps to go in this race. We still are owed at least 1, probably 2 pit stops by a number of drivers.
And I think with 91 laps to go, what did we see him stretch it to? About like lap 70 or so, roughly. So you're right, maybe 1 stop, maybe 2 stop, depending on how full the tank is right now. But the thing is, Togo Hisada is in the best position, the freshest tires, the most fuel in the tank, and he's already hunted down the 37 at 955.
You're right. 21 lap old tires versus Ericsson on 41, Fredrickson on 55. So no wonder he's looking as fast as he is. Will he try and get through them quickly as Daniel Blomqvist now in a fight with Dreiling in the 22? We might actually want to go back up to the front because Hisada is now there.
Yeah, he's right on the back of the 37 here. So, and the 37 actually had a little bit of a loose moment coming off of turn number 4 there. I wasn't expecting that because he's got about 15 lap fresher tires than his teammate who's leading the race. I figured he would just kind of hang out in 2nd place, but now with the pressure from the number 6 car, the game has totally changed.
Close to the bumper. Now he's going to show his nose. He likes that shallow line there often. Doesn't do that this time. 37 covering him off. Cuts back across. Goes for the launch off of turn 2. He gets it. He gets the nose in. And down into turn 3. Now the battle starts.
And remember, turn 4, the 37 really crowding Hisada there on the exit. I actually think that cost him a little bit of power down. We've really seen the cars excel off of turn 4 if you're taking that true middle groove, because that allows you to carry the momentum, and the low line in 1 and 2 is just the shortest distance around. Hisada makes up some of that ground, but the closer the 37 pinches down right here in 3 and 4, the less run he gets on the straightaway.
Just about got him. He's not fully clear yet. If he can drift up a little bit and do the sort of slide job, which he does, that's it. Up to P2 for Togo Hisada. I don't think we've seen him as high as second, have we?
Yes, we have. We've seen him up there, but I think now is going to be the time that Togo will take control of this race. Fredrickson working lap number 61 of his tires. Here comes the move from Togo Hisada. He's going to go down to the inside. The 955 has to move to the middle groove of the racetrack. This might take a few laps.
Looks very similar to what he did before, though. Getting that nose in. Oh, and we got a caution. I see Dryling involved and Waitley in the 21.
Oh, and the 22's backing up on the racetrack. You gotta be careful. Thankfully, nobody got into him right there. But this definitely was the 101 getting into the 22, coming off a turn number 4. And then the 21 just unfortunately cannot slow down and avoid Tom Dryling.
Well, he's also a little blind of the situation,
yes.
It looks like. We'll have to get an onboard on this one because, yeah, the seas sort of parted in front of him. So here's Hawkenschut making the initial contact. Very typical short track stuff. Although him diving to the inside was brave.
It was. I've always been told that if you're going to make contact, you better be able to run away. And it seemed like he had an escape plan.
Yes, he did. And got away with it. 22 does carry on, but with some pretty big damage on the car because of the secondary hit.
Is Togo Hisada in pit lane right now?
Yes. But... well, wait, did he pit a lap early?
Oh no, it looks like the 37. I apologize, folks. I'm getting caught up on my side of things. The 37 is also in pit lane, as well as everybody on the lead lap right now. I think with 81 to go, the window is open in terms of the fuel window.
Question is that the right call?
If you're Togo Hisada, yes. If you're everybody else, I would want to save a set of tires.
Well, let's see. I've got my counter up, and thankfully my timing and scoring has been tracking this. Now that we don't know for sure that all of these drivers have taken tires on these pit stops that they've taken. Fredrickson, the highest to, or no, excuse me, did Fredrickson just pit? Yes, Fredrickson, as we're going to watch Sam Waitley. Now watch, in front of him is another car that dives out of the way at the last second, and yeah, just suddenly there's the 22.
Well, and you saw the 21 hook a hard left to try to avoid, so it's not like he just ran into him.
Yeah. The point I was going to make is Fredrickson, the highest of cars who have pitted, and that's who I'm going to go through here, is on 5 stops. Hisada 6, Ericsson 6, Schmeier 5, Batten 6, Blomqvist 5, Kenchlow 9, but I'm almost certain that some of those were, I am certain that some of those were not tires. And then you've got Hawkenschut at 6. That's just your top 8 right there. Now, that most that they can do if they take 4 tires every time is going to be 7 pit stops. But they could also play it tricky and take 2 tires. But last time we saw someone try that, Joey, didn't seem like it was the best call.
No, and I've gone back and reviewed all of the pit stops from the 955, the 6, the 37, the 30, and the 61. That's our entire top 5 currently. They all went up on both sides with the jack, which means they took 4 tires on that stop. So how many sets of tires got left? That was up to Joe to report that, but they officially did take a set this stop.
Gotcha. And that's going to mean that if you're Hisada and Ericsson, if you took them every time, you've only got 1 tire change left.
I think that's okay. I think that's totally okay because you can run from here to the end on a green flag prediction over here. And then if a yellow comes out, you got a get out of jail free card with a sticker set.
Exactly. And we haven't, I mean, we've seen what the tires are worth, but it hasn't been, we haven't had too many split strategies up until later in the race. So we'll see if it makes a difference come the end where drivers decide to take it and dash through the field. Green flag is out, and there's that communication. They just ran away from Togo Hisada on that restart.
Absolutely tag teamed by the two teammates, and now even blocks the over-under attempt from the number 6 car. So excellent execution from the 50 or the 955 as well as the 37. But can they run away? I think that was Schmeier way up the racetrack in 4.
Nearly had an accident go lightly and shoot. Came together on the backstretch. Thankfully, did not go or come to a complete halt. So the drivers will be able to carry on under green flag conditions. We're not out of the woods yet with just about 75 laps to go.
I don't know if you saw that, but the 44 of Kinchlow cleared himself over the 61, and they were 3 wide almost at the time. So thankfully, Garen Batten lifted out of that, and he's now down to the inside, riding on board with Schmeier. Big wiggle from the 61. We're going to go 3 wide in turn number 3. The 988 gives a shove to Kinchlow up on the high side.
Everybody stays pointing the right direction as they'll cross with another lap done. And down into turn 1, it's a little bit more orderly than it was last time. They'll carry this battle on, but Batten looks like he may have got the best of them.
I think that this is a good drive from Garen Batten. He was just nowhere to be found in the middle of the race, and really at the beginning of the race, he just fell straight back like a rock. So it's a good recovery for him to be in 4th place so late in this one.
That brings Batten up very high in the field for sure compared to where he was much of this race. 73 to go, though. He's still got to stick with it for quite some time. Up at the very front, Fredrickson now leading Ericsson. That's the reverse order of what it was earlier on in the race, with Hisada trying to stick with them. Looking back from Batten, looks like Schmeier, Kinchlow don't want him to be able to dash off into the distance. Jason Wallet with them as well, along with Blomqvist and Holbom.
See how this kind of plays out right here, because if this is a long green flag run, I expect the number 6 to have the best track position he's ever had on this green flag. So he's just going to get faster and faster right now. If you're Fredrickson and Ericsson, I would say let's put the hammer down and try to run away as far as we possibly can.
Blomqvist with a bit of a move of desperation there, trying to get himself inside of Jason Wallet for 7th. Didn't work out that time. Up ahead of them. Thought maybe Schmeier was going to attempt something into 1 as well, but just can't seem to break deep enough to get alongside the 61.
This is definitely a second group right here, because these lap times are about a 10th, maybe a 10th and a half off of what those front 3 are doing. So maybe Schmeier is actually being held up just a touch by that black and turquoise number 61 there. I'd be curious that 30 has fresh tires. If he got in front in some clean air, what his lap times would be.
So that time Blomqvist did make the pass, if you saw in the background. So he's now up to P7 to watch Schmeier regain the time to Batten within about a car length of that teal and black machine.
I like that. It is much more teal than turquoise, isn't it?
I could go either way on it, honestly. I didn't. The colored name just didn't come to my mind as I went to the easier one to say, but Daniel Blomqvist. Oh, he gets another one. That was Lynn Kinchlow that he just disposed of. The 988 might be faster than we thought here.
And everybody's on the same set of tires, so there's not a tire discrepancy anymore. It's just coming down to the driver, how aggressive they can be with these track conditions and how their car is feeling underneath them right now. Evidently, the 988 of Blomqvist, who's currently in 6th place, is feeling pretty confident because he's already pulled away from that 44 a little bit. I know we're watching him, but hey, 5 car lengths and growing on the back straightaway.
I mean, how quickly he overtook each of those cars, honestly, was kind of surprising, which is why I'm kind of keeping an eye on him for now. Maybe he was just playing it careful for earlier on in the race and holding out until later on to really show his cards. Meanwhile, speaking of showing your cards, Ericsson reminding Fredrickson that he is faster than him and has been for much of the race.
This will be very interesting, right? Because they've been coordinating everything on the restarts. They've been working together as a team, and really it's been the 37 who had a huge moment there, loose coming off a 2. Had an excellent save right there, but he's definitely been the fastest car out there. He's been up front all race long, but working lap number 18 of this tire stint now, we've still got a little bit of short run speed before I think Togo Asada actually starts to gain that advantage.
So let's set the stage on this as well. Oscar Fredrickson, our current leader, is our points leader as well. Jesper Eriksson is his teammate. He's in 4th. He's still easily, mathematically, in with a shout for the championship too. So how do they play this? If Jesper does feel like he's a lot quicker and that Togo is a threat, will he ask him to move out of the way? Does he have to earn this one?
It's the mixing pot, right? So if you're a team, you clearly discuss before the race, hey, we are not going to race each other. This is our strategy. If you feel like you're faster, let me know and we'll work together, right? That's the most efficient way to get to the checkered flag. But usually how it ends up, as we watch Schmeier and Batten here on screen, is that usually how it ends up, they'll call it, let's say, 20 laps or 10 laps or 30 laps. Whatever they set the amount for, they'll say at the end of the race, this is when we get to race it out, when we've ran away from everybody else. But with how difficult these cars are to drive and how much they've been moving around underneath the drivers on the racetrack, you still got to be careful.
Exactly. And Batten maybe trying to square off the exit as he goes way high. And no, it's going to be Jeff Schmeier who comes out on top for that one. That's for 4th place. Behind them, it's the 988 of Blomqvist. Will we see him manage to catch and overtake the number 61, our pole sitter for this race?
I'm going to get the answer to what I asked maybe 15 laps ago, and that would be the lap times out of that number 30 with nothing but clean air in his front bumper. And let me check, it was a 22.5 last time around, chasing and passing Garen Batten. 22.60 that time. That puts him on pace with the front 3, but he's 2.5 seconds back, almost 3 seconds.
Maybe too little too late, and needs a caution to help gather things back up. It's a nice little battle here where we got 4 cars all fighting. Jason Wallet way up to the high side, 3 wide. Lynn Kinchlow in the middle. And down low, it is Hakan Schutt, who looks like he's going to wind up getting the pass done on that 44 machine. Cedric Holbom behind both of them is on the lead lap impressively. Who's been involved or around, I would say, about 50% of the cautions that we've had.
Definitely has seen his fair share of spins and tire smoke today, but still running inside the top 10, and it's all about staying on the lead lap. You were talking about that. As long as you can stay on the lead lap, you can fight for positions out there. During the yellow flags, you can get it fixed up, and that's exactly what the number 10 is doing. He's kept swimming, and he's got a top 10 currently.
It's been a good green flag run on lap 26 of the stint. But we'll start to see these tires go away and then plateau from what we've experienced so far out here. Not sure if that's going to change. Haven't seen any change in the weather. For those curious, it's still about 78 Fahrenheit, so 1 degree cooler than it was maybe 2 or 3 hours ago.
Joe, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm a little worried about this 37. Togo's going to move down to the inside, but the car that's been dominant all day long is really struggling with rear grip issues, and here comes Hisada to the inside to take advantage.
Yeah, you're right. Something seems almost amiss with Ericsson, who's had a very wiggly car. The 6 is capitalizing on it, trying to go on the attack. Seems to feel that he's still that little bit quicker if he can get ahead. And now they're starting to catch some lap traffic on top of things.
Here we go into 1 and 2. The 37 drives it really deep in the middle groove. Let's see if it pays off, if he's able to diamond it off a 2. Hisada, I think, is actually going to be able to clear him here in 3 and 4.
Let's see. Just about, and there it is. Wonderful pass by Togo Hisada, Jesper Eriksson, and a bit of a surprise. The car not seeming to be as good as we thought at this stage. And remember, he got a fresh car, so theoretically it should be good as the 955 just about had an accident as Rob Courtney was to his outside on the exit of two.
It's that same thing. I think the drivers up front are expecting the cars to use the entire track, and not everybody is using the entire track. So just a little bit of an overlap as Togo Hisada is going to try to diamond it off of two. Look at the run he's got down the back straightaway, pokes the nose to the inside of three. I don't think it's going to be enough this time. We've really seen the high line accelerate off of turn number 4. Hisada with a little bit of a slip up. He's going to have to try another lap.
50 laps to go now. 1/8 left in this one. And Togo Hisada has come from the very back. Remember, he started this in 25th. And that is absolute last on the field. And is now looking to try and snag a win. As they come across the line, he goes up high once again. I don't know if this is the right call for Eriksson, as we know that 6 is very good, just straightening out the exit and getting a flyer down the backstretch. Now he blocks.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm expecting the block in the middle of the front straightaway, and if you're going to block going in, blocking coming out, you're going to expect a bumper eventually.
This time he leaves that inside open, but that's also a favorite place of Togo Hisada, with inches between them coming off the corner. Dead even as they accelerate down the backstretch. The 6 is going to try and make the pass for the lead for the first time in this race. We've seen the 955 up here for a good portion, but for the first time, the 6 has led a lap.
And I love seeing Fredrickson adjust the line on the front straightaway. He moved back up towards the wall once he kind of crowded Hisada down. I think that is totally legit. You're allowed to race and force that car down to the inside, but you can't pin him down and keep him down there. You see him move back up to the wall now, and Hisada is fully clear.
Oh, but he comes back at him around the outside, desperately hanging on by his fingernails to this one. The 955. Now he's clear once again. No, he's going to go for that outside once more. The 6 did not cut him off. And I think this finally will do it. There we go. I think that's job done.
It was just tremendous respect out of Hisada. He realized there was a car to the outside. He didn't want to just clear himself, so he left the entire outside lane open. And you think, well, why don't you take that air away from him? If you watch real-world NASCAR, you see this happen all the time. You need to leave respect for somebody because you see them week in and week out.
Give and take is what they call it. And honestly, again, we keep referring back to it, but it's become surprisingly relevant that the old school F1 Grand Prix Legends series has a lot in common with that, where there's camaraderie and there's definitely a feeling of fair competition out there because they do race with each other so often. Back to Holmer as well, fighting with Batten. He's trying to take away that top 5, but Batten says no.
They almost get tripped up over the 64. You see Rob Courtney get way up out of the way. He was just kind of off pace in the brake zone, kind of took Garen Batten for a surprise a little bit. But watch Daniel Homer here in this 987. He's been towards the front with his teammates, and he's trying to get back there.
Looks to do that cutback move, but didn't get the launch quite the same, did Homer. I feel like Homer's been a bit of a dark horse on this one because he has been kind of up towards the front, but I don't know that I've really noticed him as being one of the quickest guys out there. And here he is late in the race trying to get a top 5.
It's tough when 2 of the fastest cars are your teammate, right? And they're all painted the same way, and you kind of get overshadowed, don't you, when you're sitting there running in 3rd or 4th right behind your 2 teammates. But he has had the speed. He's been inside the top 5 for the majority of today's race. So yeah, a little bit odd that he's fighting with Garen Batten, who's kind of been right in the mid-pack all day. So I think now that he's kind of almost got him clear up off of the front straightaway, Homer, once he does clear the 61, I think will start to stretch it.
And that shows you how much trust is required between these drivers. That big snap on the exit when he was on the car on the low side, as I think Batten scraped the exit of 2 there. and managed not to run into the side of him while catching that slide.
Well, it's the reason why these two cars are up towards the front at the end of the race is that they don't put themselves in overly dangerous positions, right? Garen Batten realized it, and he just thought better of it, and here they are, now nose to tail on the racing line in 5th and 6th.
Ulmer up to that P5. Jeff Schmeier's going to be the next one in line, and I think it looks like Travis Anderson just went down pit lane. Now, that was 63 laps ago he stopped. This is interesting. I guess he has to because he doesn't have enough fuel.
Correct. Yes. The 24 maybe off sequence there, especially with how many times he was coming in to get fixed up. I'm surprised he didn't put fuel in the car each one of those times, though. But to my point that I was just going to make, everybody is in some serious trouble right now. Our leader is doing laps half a second faster in 2nd place.
Wow. So this whole thing was Togo didn't have the clean air that he needed, and now that he's got it, he's just untouchable. This is impressive.
And I've been saying he needs to about like lap 35 or lap 40 before his advantage really starts to show. We're on lap 46 right now. So he passed those two cars right when he really starts to get the strongest, and that lap another 0.3 faster.
That is unbelievable margins at a short track. Less than a mile in length and 0.3 a lap quicker. So might go lightly in the meantime. Has himself chasing Holbom. This is for 9th position. And I think, the 10, I almost feel like the 10 deserves the Dory Award tonight. Just with all he's gone through, and he's still out there and in the top 10.
Yep. I mean, the 24 is out there as well. We just saw it, got him on the screen there. He's got the fresh tires, but he did go, maybe a lap or two down there from hitting pit lane. So the 10 is further forward in terms of the running order, but both of these cars, the one that we're running on board with and that DuPont car, have been in the thick of it.
So there's that difference in tire. Remember, 24 just stopped, so he's trying to make as much time back up as he can. He is indeed 2 laps down, and he is hustling because, man, coming off 4, that thing was right up against it. He's leaving these two in his dust as he tries to get his lap back eventually, but that's going to take some serious effort in only 30 laps. Even if he does get a caution, unfortunately, at best, he would get 1 lap back, and that's not from the lucky dog. That would only be from a wave around if others pit.
Folks, if you think this race is over, it is not. I know that Togo is really running away with it right now, but the front half of his tire run is not his strength. He is hoping for green flag from here to the checker. With only 30 laps to go and now less than 30 laps to go, if we see a yellow flag, I do not think he's the fastest car on the track.
I'll have to check. Maybe I'll look and see. Remember, as we said, Togo does hail from Japan, and they have the Pacific region that also runs, with a shout out to our friends over at SimSpeed. I wonder if he's been competing over there, because I'm just sitting here thinking, I want to see a full-time majors championship attempt from Togo Hisada. If he just barges in like this and now runs away the second he gets the lead.
I agree. I think the biggest thing, it's so tough with him living over in Japan, just the time schedule. We're very fortunate that he shows up for the 49s and sometimes even the 79s on the weekends. But man, that time zone change and with these longer races, I'm sure it would definitely be a strain.
Yeah, and that's why I'm checking in the Pacific region to see if he shows up in the points, and I'm not seeing him. If so, then he should definitely look into that, because, I mean, that'd be more friendly to his time as we carry on this battle down for just inside the top 10. Go Lightly versus Holboom. Go Lightly to the inside. Oh, and they're going to make contact. The 10 thankfully avoids a wreck out of that one. But a little bit of a rude shove for the 43 to the 10.
To talk a little bit more about that time zone, because I looked it up and I think it's impressive over here, is that we've been racing, and we're spoiled here stateside, right? It's noon for me on the West Coast. It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon for you over there on the East Coast. But it is 4 a.m. for Togo Hisada right now. And we've already been at it for a few hours. So that means he did not sleep tonight, folks. He just went straight from midnight, hopped in the sim, and has been racing green flag ever since 1 a.m. his time.
Sam Whately trying to overtake Wallet, who brushed the wall on the backstretch as we hopped on board. They're going to carry on their side-by-side. The only thing that Togo has going for him is I think he's either in his late teens or early 20s at this stage. So his body can take staying up that late a little better than us. And
I'm full laughing over here, Joe, because you are spot on. You're 100% right. There's no way my body can do that.
Yeah. It's I want to. I wish I could still do like I did as a teenager, but it gets about midnight and I turn into a pumpkin. So Sam is not going to be able to complete the pass. Wallet will hold on to 12th. Bit of a disappointing one for Jason, who looked like he was a lot stronger earlier on in this race.
See if this is going to stay clean out here. Hopefully we get a green flag towards, or I should say to finish this run out. I mean, it would be very fitting if we had a yellow between here and the end, just kind of the way that this race has gone, essentially to make it 18 cautions.
The only thing that would make me think that we wouldn't get a caution is I don't see many battles. So unless somebody gets closer from here to the end, I don't think anybody's going to do anything crazy unless, we have a pass for 5th or something that someone really, really, really wants that spot.
I agree. I think that this is the most well-mannered the drivers have been all night. But you have to stay on your toes, right? I think that's actually when things can happen. And we do have a battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place. They're relatively close by. So if these drivers are pushing each other at all, or maybe into the brake zones and slide up wide, we've seen rear lockup, we've seen cars get into the wall all by themselves. Even if you get too anxious with your right foot coming out of the corners, you can cause a yellow. So it's still got 20 laps to go.
Jeff Schmeier with a run to be proud of to add to his top 10 finishes as well. In fact, the top 5 sitting in 4th with these few laps left out here tonight. Track definitely very well rubbered in at this stage for how constantly they've been running these green flag laps in the final 100 that we've been running. Did have quite a few of yellows there, right around lap 250 to 300, I'd say, in this race. And then suddenly it started to clean up, and now we carry on with a full stint, just about a full stint under green. But we've got only 10 cars left on the lead lap. Some of that, I think, due to drivers needing to come in for pit stops. And I saw someone, that was Mark Redeker. Okay, so Redeker's not one of our front runners. We do believe everybody should be able to get to the finish from here. But we also don't know, let's see, when did they, so they'd still be going beyond the most we've seen them do. So we don't know the ultimate limit of this fuel cell, Joey.
No, I think the longest is 2 laps from right now. We saw Garen Batten, I think, stretch it to lap 67 on the first fuel stint. But with that being said, he was the first one to come down under those green flags. Tons of other cars stayed out on the racetrack, and then we had that immediate yellow. So I don't have an exact data point of how far the cars can actually make it on fuel. With the 67-lap run, my guesstimate is these cars are okay to the end.
That's my assumption, but we know what happens when you assume, so we'll try and keep our eyes peeled here. And maybe is that an explanation for why Togo is that much faster? Is Oscar and Jesper trying to squeak this to the end?
I just think Togo's so good on old tires, and you look at how he's driving the car and where he's driving the car. It is along the yellow line every single corner, and who made that famous and won a lot of races? Kevin Harvick.
I have to pull from the patented Bills on book of drama. So is there enough fuel to the end is a classic there. We'll see whether or not it actually is or not. I don't really think it is, but you never know. and Sam in that 21.
To that point, Joe, though, if you're running the low line, technically you are using the least amount of gas, too.
True. As long as you're not spinning the wheels up.
Correct. But you have to be patient on throttle in order to be fast on the low line, and that's exactly what he's done.
Certainly been just an absolute masterclass from Togo Hisada, because many of these front runners started up towards the front. Jesper Eriksson, Jeff Schmeier were up there for much of the day. Hisada had to go through, as you described it earlier, the meat grinder, climbed through the field. In fact, twice, because remember, he got wrecked earlier on in this race. Comes out shining, smelling like roses, and then puts everybody to shame once he gets up to the front.
We avoided a yellow very, very narrowly, Joe. I don't know if you saw Watley get into the back of Kinchlow, but he gave him a huge shove a couple laps ago, and Kinch did a fantastic job of saving the car. But the drivers, they see the lap count. They see there's only 10 laps to go. So if you want a position, they're probably going to be a little bit more aggressive. And Togo Hisada is probably on the radio right now yelling at everybody, be like, hey, just stay calm, stay where you're at. Everything's all good.
And Travis Henderson just got one of his laps back, but it's too late for him to get the next one. And he definitely isn't going to be a lucky dog, because there is about 7 other cars that are a lap down in front of him right now. But him just passing Togo Hisada is maybe a small crumb of comfort for him, trying to make up for what was looking like a very strong race for that 24 car. While the 6 has lapped everybody up to Mike Golightly in 9th up to this point.
You know, I like that saying, a crumb of... I'll have to look for some comfy crumbs that I can maybe nestle up in.
I feel like I got that from A Muppet's Christmas Carol, which probably technically means like I got it from the actual Christmas Carol, because yeah, that seems like a line that Dickens would write. Anyways, Shoot is in 7th, and he's also in a fight with Garen Batten. Kind of a mystery, Garen Batten. We thought he'd be someone to watch out for at the early stages of this race, starting from pole, dropped back. We thought maybe he was holding on to his tires and never really showed himself until the end, in which he's returned to these top 10, close to the top 5 here, but still not among the quickest of drivers, and just desperately trying to keep this 6 from slipping through his fingers.
And I'm going to hold my breath a little bit here, because the 101 has definitely been in a few incidences. They almost make contact down the back straightaway there, but thankfully Garen Batten was able to keep it up towards the wall, as the 101 had just a huge head of steam down low, and now Schutt is all the way down towards the middle of the racetrack. Garen Batten on the top, but we've only got 5 laps remaining. I'd expect to see the 61 kind of tuck in behind the 101 right here.
And he does. Nice job by Hockenschut. Up to 6th place now, continuing to push forward. Next one up the road going to be Daniel Homer, but it's 3.5 seconds, so unlikely he'll catch that 987 car, who's actually in his own little tussle, because Jeff Schmeier is just in front of him, and they've got lapped cars. I think Wallet trying to pull out of the way in the 37, though. Oh, that's for position. So this is for a podium, potentially.
Yeah, Schmeier as well as the 987 of Homer and Eriksson. This is the closest battle on the racetrack. This is what I'm talking about. Here with 3 laps to go, we might get a yellow, because all these cars, they want to be on the podium.
Now, they do not have a green-white checkers in this series, so a yellow will end it. They will not extend this one. This is the old school rules that they're trying to imitate here. 2 laps to go. Will Daniel be able to do something? Will we see Schmeier be able to take another podium to his name? And in fact, the white flag now being held aloft for Togo Hisada. He's getting the 1 to go signal from last on the field at the start of this race. We knew he would be good on these ovals coming in. The number 6 is going to come around just behind Golightly, the next car that he needs to lap. Decides maybe he doesn't need to lap one more, as he'll bring it to the checkered flag and take a victory here in the majors at Richmond.
This battle for what is 3rd is still raging on. Schmeier's on the top side. It's actually going to be the 987 of Homer that's going to sneak underneath. as his teammate spins in front of him across the checkered flag, but that was a great redemption run from that 987 to finish 4th.
Excellent job. Schmeier still getting himself a top 10. Those three, Ericsson, Holmer, and Schmeier, finished, I think, about 2, maybe 3 tenths apart from each other. Very close racing as the last of them wrap it up under the fireworks. I think they're just about all clear here and having finished the race. So why don't we go through our unofficial results on this one? And that was certainly a much better short track race than we've seen here in seasons past in the majors. And a tip of the hat to all the drivers for that one. There is your results, with Hisada coming home your winner and Fredriksson finishing in P2. Jesper Eriksson still 3rd, and Daniel Holmer outside the podium, but in 4th. Jeff Schmeier, a top 5 for him. Hockenschut was P6. Garen Batten at least grabbing 7th today, even if he didn't have the outright speed. Daniel Blomqvist was 8th, and then Mike Golightly, last one on the lead lap, in 9th. Sam Watley, man, what a race for him. 22nd to 10th, despite being involved in some big incidents himself.
And then in 11th is Cedric Holbom. Lynn Kinchlow finishing in 12th spot. Jason Wallet in 13th. Tom Dreiling 14th back here with Ernie Ludwig, who as well had a good race for himself, up 9 positions to finish in 15th here. Travis Henderson did manage to stay on the lead lap in 16th. Michael Hogg there 3 laps down in 17th. Mark Redeker 18th. Gary Thomas 19th. Rob Courtney in 20th. And that's actually the first car that did not finish today's race. Everybody else on this page did not finish as well.
Yeah, there were definitely a handful of DNFs. Not as many as you would expect at a short track where things can be rough and tumble. And was hoping maybe we'd get Togo, but I completely understand if he's dashing off to bed, because usually he talks to us for the 49s, but that's much earlier in the morning.
Yeah, I had mentioned it's about 4:15 a.m. local time for Togo Hisada over there in Japan. So, yeah, I don't doubt if he might even have another bowl of Cheerios and then go off to bed.
He's earned himself a treat, that is for sure. But some definite surprises out there. Kenneth Reeder winding up as a DNF. You know, he looked like he was going to be strong before things kind of went sideways for him. But Togo is going to talk to us. All right, let's have a chat before he falls asleep here. Togo Hisada, congratulations. Love seeing you over here in the majors, but I'm curious, do you race over in the Pacific side, or what's your reasoning for coming over here for the Atlantic race?
Oh, because Atlantic region race covered by GSRC, so there. Joe and Joe commentators knowing me, and because it is a summer vacation for me in Japan, so I'm overslept every night, and now I'm wake up in very late morning, so midnight it's much more easier to show up for me. Yeah.
Ah, that makes sense. Of course, the heat too. Yeah, probably is an effect. Now, we expected you to do pretty well, although we wondered how you'd transition from open wheel to NASCAR style racing. How confident did you feel, especially coming in from last place? Did you think you could come and win this thing?
I'm embarrassing, but I completely forgot about the pre-queue sessions. And I've not set a time for qualify, so I'm afraid I didn't show up this race. And I chat to Mike, and he makes me able to join this race. So from the last place and no time set, so I have no idea in my pace, how is my pace and how is my long run, short run pace. I'm not sure about that, but just running carefully and not causing a wreck, and just under the pure luck to take a win this this evening, so that I'm pretty happy.
And lastly, is there a reason behind choosing Cheerios on your car? Is there a driver you like that raced under that, or do you just like Cheerios?
You know, my father playing games my childhood, and he's playing Grand Prix Legends original, and of course the NASCAR 2002 and the 2003. And this John Andretti's number 43 car is my favorite in my childhood, so that's why.
Well, I have some good news for you. I have one of John Andretti's tires literally sitting right next to me right now that I bought. So I understand a big fan of many of the Andrettis here. Again, congratulations and an amazing race, sir.
Thank you.
That was Togo Hisada, our winner. Going to be followed up by, it looks like, Oscar Fredrickson. Joey has caught up with our P2 finisher.
Yeah, Oscar Fredrickson, congratulations on finishing second today at Richmond.
Yeah, thank you. Bit of a shame to not be able to hold Hisada there at the last stint, but he was just way too quick. He was really good at preserving the tires, keeping the temperature low, and just, he managed it really well, and he was way too quick, so happy with P2.
So I have to ask you, since we just watched 400 laps of really you and your team dominating out front, did you guys have team orders on who was going to win today's race if you found yourself 1, 2, 3, or was it going to be gloves off at the end?
No, it wasn't something we talked about before the race, at least, but we're usually pretty good, me and Jesper, at getting along in those sort of situations. We just kind of see whoever is fastest can go. Jesper was there in front for most of the first half of the race, and then he got into an incident. At the final stint there, we were just quiet, full focus. He's actually sitting right next to me here. We're driving in the same room today, so it was full silence and focus, just preserving the tires.
Well, I was going to ask you, my last question is, what was it that changed on that last run? Because it seemed like all of a sudden you definitely had the performance advantage, while Jesper was the one who led the majority of the first half of the race.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of multiple things, being able to manage the tires in a different way when you're leading out front with clean air and all that, and just being able to manage the tires, keep the temperature low. It was really easy to overheat them, and Jesper was just faster when he was in front at the beginning of the race there. I think he was a lot faster in the middle of the stint. I was driving a bit more conservatively, wasn't able to use the tires fully, which led to me having a bit of an advantage towards the end of the stint when the tires started to go off, because I had used less of them. And also I noticed kind of 200-300 laps into the race that my force feedback was set really low, lower than usual, because I'm managing a bit of a shoulder injury. So I was driving one-handed, practicing for this earlier in the week. So I noticed I could turn it up a bit, and of course got a bit more feeling for the car then. So that also played a factor, I guess.
Well, congratulations. I just want to say that you did an excellent job keeping the car towards the front of the race, in front of the pack the entire time. You kept it clean out there, and you got the second place from it. Thanks for coming out and racing with us. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Of course, everyone in the team. I think we're good. Always have good teamwork and figuring out what we need in terms of setups and all that. And of course, extra shout out to Jesper, who's next to me here, and for managing the 1-2 there really well, or managing the front of the pack. And also he's been driving on a way less performant rig than what he's used to, because he's at my place for the weekend. So he did a great job managing the race, driving on different hardware than what he's used to. So.
Well, that was Oscar Fredrickson driving that 955, coming home with a solid second place finish at Richmond.
And third behind him was Jesper Eriksson, who comes home with a podium, but is still looking for his first win in the majors. A bit surprising with the speed that we saw, especially today, Jesper. Does this one feel like one that slipped through your fingers, or do you feel like third was the best you could do on it?
No, definitely one that slipped through. It's a good race, good recovery after getting spun, but a bit disappointed. Really wanted to win after leading so many laps, but I'm happy with the results. Good points for both the team and for Drivers Championship.
What is the following of oval racing and especially NASCAR like over in Sweden? It seems like you guys are very fast whenever we go to these oval circuits in the majors. So it seems like you've got plenty of experience, at least here on iRacing.
Oh yeah, we definitely, especially in NASCAR, because we have quite a big NASCAR league in Sweden, a bit above 40 drivers that we're starting this week actually. So quite excited for that. But yeah, it's really competitive in that series. We're really like 20 of super good drivers, and it's quite a big following. But I do think that group is the only group in Sweden that actually likes doing oval racing.
That's understandable, but maybe you'll spark something. How do you feel about next race? In September, we're heading off to Brands Hatch for the Formula Ford Festival, which is going to be crazy if we get the numbers they do in that series.
Oh, finally back on road, to be honest. Really miss driving the road car on a road track, so it's going to be fun. I have Facebook zero to none experience in that car, and it's going to be interesting. Going to be fun.
Well, best of luck. Stay safe on that one. And again, congratulations on a podium.
Thank you, guys.
Jesper Eriksson, our third place finisher, which is going to wrap up our interviews. Again, big thank you both to our sponsor. You can check out the Majors Garage with a link in the description below, as well as to Majors for the charity that they're raising for Sarge's Place. You can find out more info as well with the link for them. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Like we said, it's off to the Formula Fords at Brands Hatch. That'll be Sunday, September 22nd at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Anybody really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Yeah.